Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Thursday night and we are live. I am Dixie Dave with my co-host Crusher Crossen, and we're here for what could be an interesting show. You're going to start out with just Crusher and I, but I just got word that one of our guests will be here in about 20 minutes. We can't hear you, Crusher.
I forgot I mute myself when the promos are running. I have to get some things squared away here. I'm just working on that, Dave. I did hear you on what I need to do. Um,
Okay.
so, uh, yeah. So we had quite a few guests lined up, but unfortunately, we had the flu bug hit some people, and
Double bookings hit people, but
double
the
bookings
double
and
booking
stuff.
will make up for it.
But we're going to talk about that. As a matter of fact, Dave, one of our guests that we had planned to join us today was Mr. Brian Zane, Wrestling with Regret. And he regretfully cannot make it tonight because he double booked himself and he couldn't get out of his other commitment. But he's agreed to come on with us next week. So we're just going to postpone Brian to next week, Dave.
Okay.
Um, and in fact, he's got a little message for everybody that he wanted me he wanted to do a little interview with me quick on this. So if you don't mind, Dave, I'm going to roll that right now just to get that so everybody can see. This is me and
Yep.
Brian Zane earlier, and um, let's just roll that and let everybody take a listen to what Brian has to say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Crusher Crossen here, and I am with Brian Zane, who we promised you this week on NWF Rewind. Unfortunately, some things came up, Brian, but you're going to be joining us next week.
That's right. It's a long time coming. It feels like a full circle moment, which has been momentarily delayed. Something came up. Double bookings happened, so I'm really sad that I couldn't be part of this week's episode of NWF Rewind. But I am so pleased as punch to be coming next week on the 22nd. To be a guest on your show. Of course, if you followed my YouTube channel, Wrestling with Regret, it's one of the very first videos I ever did was talking about this DVD I uncovered at my local library about the NWF Kids Pro Wrestling, and I'm like, what is this? And how did this get made? And 10 years later, Wrestling with Regrets become my full-time job, and it's my career, and I've had so many opportunities in wrestling because of it. And I guess when it comes down to it, I have a lot to thank for the NWF, for one of my earliest works, and so it's only fitting that I arrive next week to NWF Rewind.
Well, we appreciate it, Brian, and it's funny that that episode when that aired, some of the guys were like, "Why did you approach him on this?" I said, "Look, you guys, I learned when I was doing the show, there is no such thing as bad publicity. He went through all this effort to put this production together on our documentary, and quite frankly, it was very entertaining." So, look, I'm a different animal when it comes to that kind of stuff. You can handle things like that two ways. You can say, "Oh, you know what? Shame, what are you doing talking about us like this? I'm not going to have anything to do with you." Where does that get you? Nowhere. So, and quite frankly, brought up some good points. So, and it all, it was a
Yeah,
great interview. I liked it, and I'm really looking forward to next week because we're gonna deep dive a little bit onto the NWF a little bit. You know a lot of it because you watched that documentary, but
hmm
I'm really interested to get your take on the evolution of the league that we had.
absolutely. I'm really excited to kind of look back at some of the footage, a lot of which I haven't seen in about 10 years. I feel that just the way I have evolved as a person in that decade in wrestling and in life, I think it's really going to change my perspective when I revisit the NWF. I had a very different mindset about wrestling and everything in it 10 years ago. And, we all grow and change. And I'm glad that you took the initial thrashing I gave the documentary so well. And, we had that follow up interview about 9 years ago. And yeah, here we are now. It's going to be really fun next week to be part of the show and just kind of, yeah, look back at some classic NWF footage.
Exactly. So, everybody, join us next week. I know we promised it this week, but next Thursday we'll have Brian with us, and we will go from there. So, Brian, looking forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. I'm looking.
Sorry, folks, it looped. I forgot to turn that off. But yeah, so Brian, he will join us next week then. And, we wanted him this week and he wanted to be here this week. And, Brian, here's the thing, Wrestling with Regret, Dave, that's his full-time deal now. It's his
Right.
living. So he double booked himself into another situation that he couldn't not get out of. And, when that's your job and that's your deal, I get it,
Well, as we
Um,
know, life happens.
right. NWF's more of a niche thing, Dave. It was 40 years ago. It was a very unique product. What Wrestling with Regret, he does the whole wrestling world. And he's got like
Exactly.
60 some thousand, 360,000 subscribers. So it's a different animal for him. And the fact that he's even taking time out to come talk with us, I think is great.
Exactly, it is. I mean, I've watched the video. At first, I was a little kind of like some of the guys were, why is this guy trashing us like this? We're kids that are taking the initiative.
Yeah.
And then,
And
thinking about it, it's like, hey, this guy's giving us free press.
and not only
He's
that,
making our product known.
well, not only that, Dave, but the comment feed. Like if you folks ever get a chance, go on YouTube and just search um, NWF Where Were the Parents, and that episode that Brian did on us will come right up. Because that was his big thing. I think that's what he titled it, Where Were the Parents? And he did the comment feed. First of all, the thing's got almost 500,000 views. The comment section, if you read the comments, he still gets comments to this day. And if you look at the comments, they're all over the place. Some people are saying, how dare you get on these kids? They were just kids. What's the matter with you? And then he's got the other crowd that's saying, yeah, you know what? I agree. And then there's this whole following of Old Man Tronson. Brian started that. And it's got this following in of itself. And I love it. I love every bit of it. So,
Hey, like I said, he's giving us free press.
yeah.
You can't hate free press.
Another
Which
guest
our
we
guest, which our
sorry.
guest later on today will attest to.
Right, and I'm hoping he joins us. The one we have coming on here is Carmine Sabia. We're waiting for him to join us. He's been a promoter at one time, right, Dave? He's promoted
Yep,
wrestling.
he was promoted wrestling. He's been involved in the wrestling business. He's got friends that have been in WWE.
I know he had Eric Bischoff on as a guest. I love that
Oh
show he
yeah,
did.
I, I've, I've, I'm a longtime follower of Carmine, and he's done interviews with Demolition, Nikita Koloff, to name just a couple.
Right,
And
and
as a matter of fact, him and Nikita are actually fairly good friends.
right, and
But
I was gonna say another guy we were gonna have on, Dave, Racer X, aka Mike Grimsley. Mike did text me yesterday saying he's really been sick. He's under the weather right now. He said he was going to try to make it. So I have him on the docket, but if he doesn't show up, it's because he is really under the weather right now. And look, Mike's a straight shooter guy. If he's under
yeah,
the weather,
yeah,
he's under the weather. Um, we've had him on before. He's a great guy. I was really hoping he'd join us, but if that's the case, it'll just be postponed with him as well. We'll be bringing him on at a
yes.
later time.
I mean, all of our guests that we invited that aren't able to make it today, we have an open door policy to come on whenever they want.
Yep.
We'd like to know a little in advance so we can promote them a little bit, but
Right. It's always fun to be able to do that. And the I was gonna say and then Carol Castle from Minnesota Wrestling Hall of Fame, but we knew would be hit or miss with her because she's
yes,
her regular job's a bail agent and she gets on call all the time. And
exactly.
she said if she couldn't make it, it would be because of that. So so it is what it is, guys. But we will definitely have Brian Zane next week. He went off out of his way when I met up with him earlier to do the promos and stuff. Plus, he's
Yep,
rolling that promo on his own social media feeds and stuff. I'm pretty confident we will have him next week.
exactly. Speaking of which, I do see a few of our regulars have popped in now.
so busy talking, I've been looking. Gizmo in the house, of course. It's great. Gizmo loves the new videos I've been putting out. Yeah, I'm just trying to, doctor up the Hall of Fame coming up. We have the Hall of Fame.
You're sounding kind of muffled, Crusher.
Am I muffled? It does
Yep.
that, then it clears up, I think. Am I clear now?
Yep,
Okay.
you're clear now.
I know. I noticed it always does that for the first part of the show, but then it goes away. But yeah, the new videos are just trying to give everybody a little bit of cannon fodder so they can make a decision when it's time to vote. And
Hey, now wait a minute. I do hold something here. I
yeah,
haven't seen. I've seen quite a few videos coming up, but I haven't seen a very important one come up yet.
well, you didn't look because I believe Dixie Dave's up there today.
Oh, okay. Well, as you know, I do work night shift,
Yep.
and
And I'm putting them all up. I just don't want to do it all at once because then it's just a bunch of
right.
videos at once. I try to like filter them in every day,
Yep.
so kind of spread it out a little bit. And that's what I've been doing there. Just these were the same videos we did in our watch along or on our show,
Yep.
but I just isolate them by themselves. So another comment here from Sky Sports Video News who's with us. It's great to see the regulars here. What channel did Brian say he was on? He's on. So it's Wrestling with Regret, and I don't have a banner here on that information, but it's basically Wrestling with Regret, and it's not like you think. It's the regret is spelled with a WREGRET. So Wrestling with Regret. So it's W, obviously wrestling, and then the W on the regret. And it's on YouTube. And if you search Wrestling with Regret, it'll come right up. But his thing on our documentary, the way you find that easy is just search "Where Were the Parents?" NWF Where Were the Parents? If you just search that on YouTube, it comes right up. And it was like he spent like 18 minutes, Dave, on our documentary back in the day.
Yep.
Really did a production of it. And we'll talk to Brian about that next week. I don't want to waste time on it this week because that's a whole conversation. But I'll tell you this much: when I approached him, I said, Brian, I really thought this was a great piece. I was very entertained by it. Good job. I congratulated him on that video. And the guys, Dave, the boys on our show, when they heard I did that, they're like, "What the hell did you do that for?" He's threw us under the bus. I said, he didn't throw us under the bus. He just made an entertaining product. I said, guys, professional wrestling is entertainment. We're in the entertainment business.
Yep.
Okay. And this is his way. This is the way he does his channel. He's not going to do a straight shooter, type review. So I could see what he was doing. And first of all, and like I said, Dave, there is no such thing as bad publicity. That's publicity. Look, 500,000 views. It's really given us people opened up a lot of people to our documentary. So I have no problem with what Brian did. Let's keep getting caught up on comments here, Dave, while we wait for Carmine to join us. Gizmo says, Dave, you are up. Meaning for the Hall of Fame, I'm thinking.
Yep. The video.
Yeah. King Coop in the house. Great to see King Coop. I haven't seen him for a few shows, and it's nice to see him back. Hey, guys, it's great to be back. Haven't been here lately because I've been sick and trying to get well, but I hope y'all have been doing okay. We've been doing great, and it's great to see you again. I'm glad you're here.
Glad you're feeling better.
I don't know if you caught everything, but Brian Zane was supposed to be with us this week, and he got double booked. So he did some promos with me, which I already aired it. And he is coming on next week for sure. So he will be with us next Thursday, and it's going to be basically just kind of probably a one-on-one with him. And it should be a really, really good show. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll see what that's about. By the way, just so you know, guys, if Carmine didn't make it today, we had a show ready to go in the bucket. So we would have went with one of our regular watch-alongs. So we wouldn't have just winged it here. We would have had another show to watch. But
hey, we're good at winging it, though.
yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, look at it, Crusher. Last year we had when we were supposed to have the Destructors on. We winged it and got a pretty good guest.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah, that's for sure.
and
Look at this comment on Gizmo. When he first saw the video, he thought it was a really good piece for you. I think he's referring to Wrestling with Regret, right? Brian Zane's review. Yeah. Look, hey, I thought the same thing. I wouldn't have approached Brian, 10 years ago when he did that and say what I said if I didn't mean it. You guys all know me. I tell it like it is. If I was entertained, I'm going to tell him that. I'm not just going to, fluff it. So,
exactly.
um, and then we got Punk Rocker 8108. He says, "Hey guys, come back to NWF once in a blue moon. Had no idea you guys were doing live shows now. Glad to have caught one. Yeah, great to see you. Back in the day, we just put the videos up. I'm sure that's what you're referring to, and we never really did anything live. But Dave, it was this guy right here next to me that suggested, why don't we do a live podcast on the NWF?
No, technically, I said, why don't you do a live podcast?
Oh yeah. Why don't I do it? And this was 2 years ago now, I think, almost.
Yeah.
It's our second year. But I said, well, if I'm gonna do, first of all, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know the software. I didn't know what to. I just didn't know. And I'm like, if I do this, I'll do it. But I want you doing it with me. I don't want to do it by myself. That was my thing.
And lo and behold, here we are in our second year. Granted, we don't have a huge following, but we appreciate every follower that we have.
But like I told Brian, I said, Brian, you got 366,000 subscribers, and we got 2,000. And he had told me in that piece, well, I don't know if it was on that piece, but he had told me we were talking after we recorded that, he's like, when he first did his channel, it took him like 2 years to get 1,000 subscribers. So, I'm happy with 2,000. Look, we're a niche. We're not mainstream wrestling. We're not current material. We're 40 years ago. We're going to have a limited audience, and I've accepted that. So that part, it is what it is.
And the way
Crocker, great to have you. Great to see you here live. Feel free to ask any questions, anything you want. If you ever had any questions of the league, ask away. That's what we're here for. Go ahead, Dave.
And the way I look at it, we've had a personality who's been in the business on our show, and he loves our product. That being Racer X.
Yeah, I was really hoping he'd make it tonight, but I get it. If you're, if he's sick, he's sick, and you don't want to come on a show like this where you got to talk a lot when you're not feeling good.
Well, and I know Racer X off camera, and I know he's got some health issues.
Yeah,
but I know it was a crapshoot. If he can be here, he's going to be here. And if you're watching,
I was going to say Racer.
Well, soon.
Yeah, and he, we'll get him. We'll get him again.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be any problem. And for you guys wondering, we're just waiting for our guest Carmine to join us. And Racer still could pop in if he's feeling up to it, but I have a feeling we'll be seeing him next on another show maybe. But we're waiting for Carmine. Yep. He had messaged Dave saying he'll be coming on, and then we can chat with him on the NWF.
And you know what we can do in the meantime, Crusher? We can promote our show coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, go ahead and start talking about it. I got some things to show as well.
In 2 weeks, we're gonna be doing our regular show, not a special. We're gonna be doing a regular show, and we're going to have some former NWF stars sitting in with us. Some Hall of Fame nominees. We're gonna have, if I remember correctly, Pretty Boy Taylor, Steve Engstrom, Kid USA Kelsey, or Hot Stuff Kelsey, whichever mood he's in, Matt Kelsey.
Matt Kelsey, yes.
We're going to have Ricky Vaughn, a.k.a. Jamie McParland, who the NWF Universe should be familiar with.
Yeah, and the guys know Jamie. He's filled in for me. He's filled in for you. He's been on the show several times.
Who else have you gotten to confirm?
Terry Kosnapple, Invader 4, said he would make that show. So for the first time, we really wanted to talk to him. So...
Rock and Ronabomb, if I'm correct?
Rockin' Ronnebaum, Chad Ronnebaum said he'd be able to make that. And now, of course, you guys, y'all know that in life, we do this live, so to get everybody to come and commit, you might have a few people that might not make it. That's just the way it goes. I'm still going to try to get some more in there. We can do up to 10 people, or having 10 people on if we wanted to.
Yeah.
I'll try to get some more to maybe join us as well. I'll do what I can. Oh, Jeff Dinsmore. I forgot. Jeff Dinsmore said
Oh.
he'd be there. I can't leave Jeff out, so I'll never hear at the end of it. Dr. Dredd will come in the mask and say, "What did you forget my name for?" But no,
Your
Jeff
old tag
Dinsmore.
team partner.
Yeah, great announcer too. Yeah, he was kind of our Wally Carbo of that era.
Yeah.
The promoter, acting promoter, I should say. But yeah, so that'll be a fun show. But I wanted to show, Dave, I've got the brand new NWF Rewind T-shirt, and let me show you. It's hard to see like when I do that, but let me show you.
Well, here, when you show that on the screen, I'll kind of show mine so they can compare the two side by side.
Sure. So this is the new T-shirt. NWF Rewind, and it's basically a collage
Yep.
of just different snippets of the show and at different points. Really cool shirt, and that's going to be our new shirt. This will be the shirt that we'll be doing in our giveaway for the Hall of Fame for voting in our randomizer. We'll be giving away X amount of these shirts for people who vote, so you'll have a chance to get one. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. Tell me what you guys think. Do you like that design? Is that a cool? I think it's cool. It kind of showcases the league, in a collage of pictures.
And I was looking at it, and I do recognize one of the moments there fairly well.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a national tag team championship picture down there in the match going on where the decision was about to be made for the submission
Yep.
for one Dixie Dave and Rattlesnake Jake.
Exactly.
I got to get rid of that. There we go. So yeah, and so if you're interested in getting one of those shirts though, or any of our other stuff that we have, always go to their website, nwfwrestling.org/products. That's where you can get all that stuff.
And while we're promoting things, if you enjoy our intro music, it's by a band called Liliac. You can find their music at liliacband.com. Great people, independent rock band, and they provide our music for us at no charge. That's what nice people they are. They're rock and roll musicians. They could charge us an arm and a leg to use their song because it's copywritten music. And because I went through the proper channels and asked their manager. Just because I asked permission, they're allowing us to use it.
And Dave, you brought up the show for the NWF alumni show. That's, I guess, a good name for it. Ken Coop's looking forward to seeing the mini reunion with everybody. And I'm sure, I'm really looking forward to seeing the questions these guys will have for those guys.
Yeah.
Because, we've answered a lot of them. But.
And, for me, what'll be nice next week is we've interacted with a lot of these guys individually. But just getting everybody back together and everybody interacting again and kind of seeing the brotherhood again.
Right. Yeah, that's what'll be cool. It's always fun to get everybody together. And some of these people haven't seen Steve since back in the day, and there was some bad tension there when Steve and Larry did what they did. But, we're all adults now. I'm sure, people will be respectful and everything, but it'll be interesting to see the conversation that comes. As far as my relationship with Steve Engstrom at this point, look, I put the history behind us as far as what they did, him and Larry. And I just kind of look at the contribution Steve made before Larry, before the Larry Rhodey deal. And look, that.
And you and I have discussed my side of things,
Yep. And Jamie has his feelings, but it's like It's different for me though, Dave, because I knew him when he came on the show before you guys even joined,
Right.
and I spent many nights, months, a lot of time with him, helping to grow the league. I mean, Steve was just a helper, man. He was really a helping
It,
hand,
it
and
was almost a 3-year brotherhood for you two.
yep,
And it came to a sad end, and now there's repair work going on.
yeah, and that's kind of what it takes, So, you know, okay.
And
So I
King
just got
Coop,
a message from our guest, Dave Carmine. He
yep.
said 10 minutes. So we're going to be
Okay.
10 minutes. I'm thinking, what can we do in 10 minutes?
Well, I'm
Well,
going to answer King Coop's question or King
sure.
Coop's comment here. Okay, King Coop, if you think that's a kick-ass shirt, one, you can go in and vote next month.
Well,
You
I'm
know,
sure he will be. He'll be one of the ones voting.
a smart vote. You know where it'll go.
I love it.
Sorry, I had to throw a little.
Yeah.
I only jest, but or you can go to nwfwrestling.org, click the banner where the products are, and order it through there.
And Dave, there's another comment there there you go.
Yep, I was just bringing up sports talk. Um, Sean keeps in contact with a lot of the alumni more than I do. You know, being honest, in the show, I kind of consider myself, I was a peon back in the day. You know, I wasn't in part of the quote unquote inner circle. So, if the guys want to reach out to me, I'm in the group, I'm on Facebook, you
Well,
know.
right. And primarily where we all reconnect and reunite is in the National Wrestling Federation of Minnesota Facebook group, which it's a private group. We used to have it public, but then we started getting all sorts of weirdos coming in and stuff. And
Yep.
so we made it private now and put a few questions now you have to answer to get in, just so we know you're not there's so much crap on Facebook now as far as fake accounts and everything. And so,
We
so our
only want
Facebook,
real people who are interested in our product in our group. We don't
right.
want people coming in that are going to promote their own agenda.
Or
We
are
want
in there
people,
for other reasons to spam your account and that kind of thing. So we kind of
right.
police it. So, anyways, the Facebook group, and that's where most of the guys are connected. Um, and I would say of the NWF, we probably had around 100 kids, Dave, roughly total, that had what one time or another come on our show, whether it was one and dones or whatever. And of that number, we probably have about, I'd say, 40% of us in touch.
Yep.
Um,
And I can honestly say, I think we only had 2 females ever on the show.
Ever, yeah. Allison Givens and Lochi.
Yep.
Lochi was Jamie's valet. Allison Givens, she was just a friend in the neighborhood that I've known for a while, and she wanted to come on because she knew all the guys. She was a tomboy, kind of, and she wanted to do
Yep.
some guest commentating, and so we let her do it. So for show 38, she was the guest commentator. She did good. She did good. Um, yeah, it's going to be some great conversation. I'm really looking forward to Carmine coming on because we're going
Oh,
to be able
yeah.
to talk to him. And then next week we'll have Brian Zane. So we're going to have 2 weeks here of some really fun conversations. I'm looking forward to it.
Another comment for you, Crusher.
Yep. Of course he's going to vote for you, Dixie Dave.
Well, I appreciate every vote.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying I'm a lock for the Hall of Fame. Far from it. But it'd be nice to be in the Hall of Recognition.
Yep. And Dave, I'm just I'm going to let you go ahead and talk or take comments because I am going to get some things ready for Carmine here that I have to do
Oh, okay.
on some of
Alrighty.
the files here.
Okay. Next comment coming up. I'm going to blow my screen up a little bit. Well, basically, we release tapings here on the show. You can watch them here on YouTube. Our really good shows, once again, you can order at nwfwrestling.org. We have 5 DVDs, and they are our armory shows, some of our better shows, and they're real fun to watch.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that pivot share part of that question, hang on, Dave. I just have to. Okay, make sure I got the right one. What happened with pivot share? It's kind of it sucks. Pivot share was great because I like pivot share. They took kind of a hefty cut in how we did it. Like they would take 30% of the sale for that, but it was hands off. I just left it with them and they would just take care of all of it. They would host everything, they would deal with all of it, and then they would just send me my cut for that. And I would just use those funds to help pay for the website and all that kind of stuff. It was a great thing and it worked for several years, but unfortunately PivotShare shut down all of it now. They just aren't doing it anymore. So the whole platform, they got out of it. So the only other closest thing I could do would be Vimeo to do something similar, but it's not the same. It's just you got to pay a lot up front. See, what was nice with Pivot Shares, I never had to pay a dime. They just took their cut.
Yeah.
So with Pivot Vimeo, I got to pay a subscription to be a part of it, and so I don't know what we're gonna do there exactly. That's kind of why we do NWF Rewind, though. Honestly,
And the positive here, you get to see the shows and they don't cost you a dime. They just cost you your time.
That's right.
And you got to put up with me.
But good questions, you guys. I know we got some more in there, Dave.
Yep. Let's see here. Gizmo enjoys the fact that I joke.
Well, you got to make it entertaining, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And yes, sometimes I will go into heel mode and show a little ego.
Yeah, little
But
character.
Crusher can tell you, egomaniac is not who I am.
Let me tell you something. Like, we sometimes do character. When I talked to Brian Zane earlier, it was the first time Brian and I had a chance to talk, and Brian asked me, he says, like, how do you want to do this? You want to go kayfabe? Do you want me to, he's kind of asking me, how do we want to go about all this? I said, Brian, I want you to be you. I want you to tell it like it is. I don't want you to sugarcoat anything just because we're friends. I want you to be you and be honest and tell it like it is. And that's what I said to Brian. That's what I would expect from Brian or any guest for that matter. I don't want sugarcoating. I don't want fluff. I want you to be you, right?
And that's the thing about our guest today is he's a nationally known political analyst, we'll say. And he's been on, Fox News and all that. But deep down in his heart, he's got a love for wrestling, and that's why he's coming on our show today.
And I'm looking forward to it.
And, if he's never seen our stuff, just what he's seen on YouTube. So if he thinks that we suck, he's going to tell us, you guys suck.
He's definitely that kind of guy. And he might think it sucks. But maybe when he sees the full evolution and sees because the way I'm going to do this, you guys, I'm going to do it with Brian next week too. I've got little 3-minute clips that I'm going to air that I put together of highlights of every year that we're going to let Carmine and Brian be able to see. And it'll give them a little flavor of what the show was like in 84, what the show was like in 85, 86, and 87. And we're going to play these videos. And I've also got some stills and stuff I'm going to bring in to kind of, whether there were articles in the paper, different things to give them an idea what the media was saying at the time. And then we're going to talk about it and see what is their perspective. What do they think at this point of
And
this?
if you go back to where the NWF truly began to where we ended up, I mean, you think about it. The final show was in the Anoka Armory in front of how many people?
Um, 350 roughly, give or take.
Okay. The show started out in Crusher Crossen's basement with a bunch of kids screwing around on mattresses.
Yeah,
That's some of the early footage that Crusher no longer has.
that's right.
And to see where it evolved to performing in front of paying customers and people that would sit there in the crowd, react to what we're doing. You know, a lot of a wrestling match, some wrestlers go into a match with it scripted completely. Every lockup, every shoulder tackle, everything is scripted. A good wrestler can go into a match and feed it off the crowd.
Yeah.
Engage their match, what they're going to do in the match based on the crowd.
Yeah.
Now, were we that skilled to be able to feed off the crowd? Not all of us, but we tried.
Well, we tried. But Dave, I think we've got our guest coming in. He seems to be.
Give him just a minute here. I think he's heading into his office.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to get joined with our special guest today, which I'm looking forward to. And he's he's got such a good persona with his personality. I think everybody's going to like hearing him talk.
And it'll be nice for me because I've talked to this man through Facebook and watched his videos for 3 or 4 years now, I think. But he and I have never had a face-to-face.
Yeah.
We've talked on the phone a few times, but we've never had a face-to-face.
Yeah, and I spent time with him on other things that you hooked me up with, which we don't even need to get into. But he's a good guy, and but again, he's going to tell it like it is. So
Yep,
he's a realist, like you and I. So
exactly.
that's the good thing,
You ready to come on in, Carmine?
All right.
All right, he gave the thumbs up.
Let's bring him
ladies
on
and
in.
Gentlemen, Mr. Carmine Sabia Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It's fun to be here, guys. How you doing? I'm sorry, I had so much to do today. You guys know my business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was doing, there's 2 Trump trials today.
Oh,
So yeah, there's the Georgia thing and there's the New York thing. And when I got done, I didn't have any dinner yet. I just ordered dinner. When I got done, I just hit the bed, man. I was for like 3 hours out.
No, I get it. I knew, Carmine, we knew you're a busy guy, and we knew it'd be a challenge to get you in. I'm just so glad you took the time to come and talk with us for a little bit here today.
Thank you. My girlfriend's yelling at me. She's like, "Come on, what are you doing?"
Well, we had another guest too, Brian Zane, who has a podcast, Wrestling with Regret. He was going to join us, but he had to postpone to next week because he had double booked. So he did a little promo for us for next week, and so these things happen. So, but I'm just glad you're here. What we want to do today, Brian,
I love watching these videos, by the way, of the kid wrestling. I think it's great shit. It's great shit, man. I think it's so cool that you had that stuff all on tape. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And so what I wanted to do, I put together like 3-minute little snippets of each year for the 4 years that we were around, really. And just to show you mainly, so you can watch with us, to give you a taste of what we were like that year, and then how we developed the following year, and then the following year, right?
Sure.
And then we'll just get your opinion on what you see, what you think, and what your take is.
Okay.
Remember, this was 40 years ago, so you got to date
My
yourself a little
God,
bit.
you got to remind me that.
Yeah, because this isn't so think of how wrestling was at that time. It was, it's as it's
Hey,
changed.
Sparks, you're old when somebody's like, think about 40 years ago, and you're like, okay. And you're old when people can do that. I used to hear people say, oh, remember 20 when I was a kid? I remember people saying, remember 20 years ago? I'm like, man, how old you got to be to remember 20 years ago? This old. This is how old
Right.
you got to be.
And by the way,
Well-
folks, Carmine Sabia, I want to just say this. He does the BAM show, which is his wrestling podcast, which is great. He had Eric Bischoff. He's had Demolition. I don't know who all. The names are it's the names of wrestlers that have been on there.
Glenn
It's a
Jacobs,
great
Kane.
show.
That's my boy. I got to shout him out.
Which one?
Kane, Glenn Jacobs. That's my
Oh,
dude. I got
yep.
to shout him out.
Yeah, he's had some great guests. And Explain America is a great show as well. Over 200,000 subscribers there.
Thank
So
you.
I just wanted to make sure to mention that. So Carmine, what I'm going to do, we'll get started, and I'm going to play for you 1984. It's just less than 3 minutes. I want you to take a look at this footage. It's just highlights of what we did that year. Okay?
1984. Okay.
1984.
Got my Masters Universe. I'm ready to watch.
All right, here we go.
Were you even around yet, Carmine?
Yes.
All right,
Well,
here we go,
I just
guys.
remember that you're a few years younger than we are.
I was born in 77, so I was watching wrestling in 84 for sure. I was watching wrestling.
All right, here we go. And also we have our viewers watching right now as well. They might chime in with questions. We'll bring them in as we go as well. In fact, I should get rid of this comment right now, just so it's out of the way. All right, here we go, guys. 1984. It's going to be less than 3 minutes. We'll take a look at this.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the TWA, the Major League of Kids Professional Wrestling. We got some great action today with the likes of Todd Killer Campa. You'll be seeing him wrestling a great bout. What is this going to be, the pile driver? And there it goes. No, it's going to be the backbreaker. The inverted body vice, call it what you will, but it is still a submission hold. Andy the Ripper against John Fritz. And the size difference is nothing short of enormous. But John Fritz is a tough little scrappy wrestler, and I'm sure he'll make good out of it.
Kind of like a snake, you never know where those legs are going to come from. There it is, a flying drop kick to the midsection. A merciless Mike in a bad way now. Where's the Crusher when you need him most? Jackknife, I got to admit, I've never seen you come out with any more fervor and more hatred and move faster against an opponent than you did tonight. You look mighty impressive, Jackknife. Why is that?
Well, thank you for once.
As he throws him against the... He gets thrown out of the ring, folks.
1, 2,
Headbutt.
2, 3.
He's got something in there. He's got something in the mask. Crusher trying to take off the mask.
Merciless, thank you for taking over for me. I'm watching that guy's mask. That guy's got something in his mask. I can see it bulging. The Orlando leg lock, I believe he calls it. Figure 4. Rich Walker does not submit as he grabs the rope. As Peterson got a sleeper hold on a Superfly Rich Walker. And I got here with me Pretty Boy Peterson, who, if you ask me, doesn't look all that pretty. But
Fabulous one. Don't you get that mixed up, okay?
sorry, I just returned.
Better be. But I've got 2 wrestlers already in my ranks. Derek Nash and Heath Peterson. Pile driver he likes to be called. You dead Cross and you dead Ackerman.
I got him in sort of like a bear hug. Oh, face. Got the iron claw on him.
Break it!
Will it be enough? Oh, he tries to pick him up. He reverses it. It's gotta be hurting. That's the end of the match.
So there we go, 1984, the early primitive years, if you will,
Okay,
right?
so I thought it was going to be video. It's you did stills.
Oh, this is just a slideshow while we're talking.
Okay, so
But you didn't see the video play?
no, I didn't see a video.
Oh, so I guess that doesn't show up for Carmine, huh?
Yeah, I'm just seeing stills.
Yeah, it must have
Well, all
not.
right, here's what
Okay.
we do. Let me do this. Let me turn my computer volume off, and let me go to you on YouTube
Okay. Yeah,
so I
that
can
they
watch at
see.
the same time.
That's interesting that that doesn't play because
It is interesting.
yeah, but
Part
because I
of
know when I
the
tested with Brian, it worked. But yeah, so it should work.
part of the fun of computer age.
Yeah. What I can do going
Yeah.
forward though, I can pull the videos in a little differently. I'll pull them in and overlay it over us, and then you should see it.
Now, what's the name of the channel?
Well, here, let me just do this. I can make this easier. I can just add it into
Oh, here
the
we are. I got you. No, that's not it. Well, what the hell? You're on my thing. You should just be right here in the live.
yeah. There's another way I can do this too, though. I can just add the layer. Do it like this. You see this at all, Brian or Carmine?
I see a black box.
Did you see the video here?
I do not.
Yeah, it must be something to do
Hello,
with the way we
folks.
had
Welcome
you
to
in.
the TWA, the
Heck, go ahead
Major
and send me
League
the
of Kids
link to the
Professional
actual YouTube.
Wrestling. We got
Yeah, I
some
don't-
great
these aren't-
action today with the likes of
they're on
Todd
YouTube, though.
Chillicampa. You'll be
But I can
seeing
send
him
you the
wrestling a
link to
great
the
where are
bout.
we- where are we
Is this
streaming?
gonna be a pile driver?
Where are we streaming? We're not streaming on YouTube?
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, we just go youtube.com/NWF Wrestling. It should come right up.
Yeah.
And I will say, Carmine, after all these years, it's good to actually see you face to face in a chat.
Oh, thank you. I feel that way too. It's pretty cool, man. I love being able to talk face to face with people because I have a cute face.
Were you able to find it on YouTube, or do you want me to
Yes.
send you the link?
Yes. I'm live. Now I'm looking at you. Okay, I'm looking at me. I'm looking at you.
All
Say
right.
you, say me, say it for always. So I only saw slides, but I tell you what jumps out to me right away.
Okay.
My first question is this a work or a shoot?
That's an interesting question because at that time, in '85, when we go into '85, title matches were shoots. If they were not a title match, it was a work.
So you guys understood the business was a work back then?
It
Yeah.
just came out. That news just hit on that 2020 report. Before that, I thought it was real. I at that age thought, hey, this is real. And I get in arguments with my friends. This is real.
Because I didn't really till about 89, 90
No, that it
did I
was
know it was a work because well, don't forget 84 7 years old.
right.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm about 12 years old in 89, 13 and 90 is starting to, at that age becoming clear to me that, okay, you probably can't take a chair shot in the head 300 nights a year, chair shots to the back, wherever they're taking them at that time. Started becoming clear to me. But this time, watching you guys, because I had a little wrestling federation, nothing this as intricate as you guys put together here, but we had a little wrestling / boxing federation on my block, and we just kicked the crap out of each other. So, yeah, we thought it was real. We thought it was a shoot. So,
No,
we just
and
fight.
yeah, when I was at my age, but until the 2020 report came out, when they kind of spilled the beans on it,
Now, the 2020 report is the who was the wrestler?
Dr. D. David Schultz,
No, 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 this is him.
the slap
But
heard around the world.
but who was the wrestler that gave up the secrets? That was
Yeah, who was
I
that
can't think
guy?
of his name either.
I can't think of his name. I remember him. He showed how to blade.
Right.
And I didn't watch that as a kid though. I didn't see that. I'm 7 years old. I didn't see 2020.
Yeah,
You
see,
know.
I seen it and I was so I was so deflated because I thought
Okay,
it
but
was real.
didn't you try to like convince yourself that he was lying? Because when I saw that on a current affair years later, I saw they said that wrestling is fake, and then they went to they don't want they want to be decommissioned and all this, and I'm like, nah, they're just trying to get around the laws. And I knew in my heart, I knew, but I didn't want to believe it. I mean, I saw a match. Hacksaw Jim Duggan punches Nikolai Volkov. Now Hacksaw's on. It's a 6-man tag on Primetime Wrestling. It's prime time.
Yeah.
Hacksaw's on the outside of the ring. Here's Nikolai Volkov's head right here. Here's Hacksaw's fist. Like it doesn't come within 5 feet, and Volkov sells it like he just got hit with a baseball bat. And I was like, that's suspect. And so
Right.
that kind of shit started building up. I tried to convince myself even then. I'm like, well, maybe Volkov was just ducking out of the way, you know.
Right.
But the
No,
announcers acted like he got punched, and it was so far away from hitting him.
no, but the reason we did title matches shoots and we worked everything else is because I was getting heat from the kids and the guys that I were playing favorites and this and that. So I said, okay, fine, then we'll make it fair. Whoever can pin or submit wins.
You know, what I
And
love
so
about
these
that.
shoot matches, the way they would work, Carmine, you would start out working a little bit, but then you only have a 10-minute time limit for our TV
Well, I
stuff.
remember this because I watched one of your shows, and you were explaining this.
Yeah.
That it was that with that kid that nobody liked. You said that. Did you still talk to that kid ever or no?
Oh no, I talk. I keep in touch with most everybody that I can,
I
and
felt sorry watching. Like, poor kid, nobody liked him. But you were saying that, and then you said doing the work shoot thing, and so you explained that, and so like I said, the first thing that jumps out at me is like, holy crap, these guys put together a hell of a thing for the '80s in somebody's garage. That's amazing.
right,
That ring looks very unforgiving. Um, and interestingly enough, you talk about they're saying you play favorites, this and that. As grown adults in the wrestling business, they will also do this. So it may have started there, but this is a common theme. The promoter being accused of playing favorites, and you're friends with that guy. Which, by the way, I mean, there's truth to that too. Like, if I'm putting my belt on somebody, I want it to be somebody I trust. I want it to be somebody I know is gonna, do the right thing for the company. And so there is a little playing favorites there because you got to be smart with your business. It's your business,
right.
right? So
Yep.
and I think you guys took this very seriously. So I think
Yeah,
you had to be smart in that respect. A guy could win the belt and not come back. So you got to make sure whoever has your belt's willing to do business, and that's important. I've had guys that refuse to job after I gave them the belt, and I'm like, okay, I'll put you in the ring with a shooter. You're going to job one way or the other, like.
Yep.
yeah. Sometimes people get caught up in the glory of it instead of the business side of it. And as kids, the biggest problem we had there was they looked at it like, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win. They
Sure.
don't look at the big picture
Correct.
of that we're telling a story here.
I remember one guy saying to me, he's like, "Yeah, but I shouldn't have to lose this guy because I beat this guy, I beat this guy, I beat this guy, I beat this guy." So you didn't beat anybody. It's a work. You
Right.
didn't beat anybody.
That's right.
Yep.
I put you over them on paper, but you didn't beat anybody.
Right.
There was no fight.
I tell you what,
So
Carmine, I'm gonna. I know I don't want to. I want to make sure we get through these videos.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now
go
that you
ahead,
can
please.
see the channel, I'm gonna play 85 for you now. This is going to be another year of the show every week. You'll
This
see
is
how we
when I'm-
progressed in 85. Okay. Here
This
we
is
go.
when I'm really starting to watch wrestling at this point. So
So yeah, make sure you're on the YouTube channel or whatever so
I-
you can see this. And then
Right.
here we go.
Here we are at the NWF, and we have a dandy of a match here for you here. Crusher gets dropped. Oh, clothesline to Crusher. Oh, throws him up against the other turnbuckle. Oh, clothesline right in the face, right in the neck area. That was painful. Dynamite dude takes it over. Oh, and Dynamite is showing off his muscle.
Did you see the way I just totally mutilated the Butcher, so-called? Butcher Bulldog, give me a break. Butcher Bullfrog. You hurt me! Give me that chain! You hurt me! There by Rough Ryan. He's going for the body slam, yes! He picked him up like a wet noodle. Another one! Crusher Crossen, not knowing what to expect from this Little League champion.
Okay, let's get back to action. Throws Rough Ryan against the ring. Flying drop kick. Did you see it?
We'll tell you about pro wrestling, kid style in Anoka. Bob Bruce with more next.
No, two.
Yeah, he looks like he's in a lot of pain.
Fans are saying Ace's waist. You can hear him.
Hey, we're ringing the bell here. This has gone just a little bit too far.
Ace! I've been humiliated before, but this was uncalled for. Now, if you got enough guts Come up here.
Well, it looks like we are having the arrival of Crusher Crossen against Todd the Bod as he circles the ring. Oh, he looks mad, folks. He looks mad. Kid Kelsey. It's Todd the Bod being worked over by Crusher Crossen. As we hear the bell, Kid USA Kelsey, for some odd prone reason, does not want to get in the ring with Cowboy Taylor. Pretty Boy Taylor, that is.
I was in Florida once.
What in the world is going on here? Is this an all-out brawl? Your winner, the heavyweight championship of the world, Ace!
So there we have it. I don't know. Did you see that one, Carmine?
I did.
All right.
So are you guys blading or is that hard way?
Oh, no. That's just, those are blood capsules or Halloween fake blood at the time, right? For the Halloween season.
So first thing that jumps out at me is, my God, the shorts. Like, you know, it was the 80s, right?
Everybody comments on that, by the way.
It's like a freaking Speedo we were wearing back then. Yeah, I remember that. Guys do not normally wear shorts like that today. So
No, they don't.
Oh, and while we're at it, Carmine, you had asked me a while back to show you something.
Oh, dude, that's freaking awesome. Now, that's the remake or is that the actual original?
That's the
This
remake.
is a remake.
Okay, that is cool. That's hella cool, man. How was the
I
original made?
Remember a while back I was talking to you about wanting to have one of my old belts made?
Yes.
That was the one. And when I went to Sean about it, he's like, why don't we do more of the belts?
Yeah.
So
the original belts were made by Steve Engstrom, who was our adult that joined, that said he was 16, but he really wasn't. But he was an adult. He was just too small to be in anything like Eddie Sharkey was doing at the time. So he came in with us, but he was really good at that kind of stuff, and he made those belts, and he did for the time period, he did a really good job.
Ow, hold on. Come here, Bay. Come on, Bay. This is the dumbest thing in the world. Come on, Bay. No, this is the dumbest thing in the world. I made a mistake, though, because I said leave it outside and don't. But they just leave a pizza on your doorstep. It's crazy to me.
And then you're probably starving, so I get it, man.
No, but like, I mean, ring my bell. Come on, ring my bell. Like, let me know. It's like 20 degrees outside. Yeah, I haven't eaten since lunch. For lunch, I had. What the hell did I have? I don't even remember. But I haven't had meat in two. Oh, I had baked ziti. Haven't had meat in 2 days. Yesterday was Ash Wednesday.
Yep.
So I had baked ziti, and then I was like, well, I'll have that for lunch. And then I made pizza for dinner. I had pizza for dinner, so I haven't eaten meat in 2 days.
Yeah, I had flavors yesterday.
Which is weird for me, because normally I eat about 3 to 4 pounds of meat per day, red meat. So, not kidding, about 3 to 4 pounds. But I eat red meat. I'm a red meat eater. Yeah, fish fillets sound good. Anyway, so I mean, like I said, every time I watch this, first of all, I'm struck that you guys had the filming capability back then to pull this off.
Right, because VHS was scarce in those days.
Yeah, it wasn't like everybody had a camcorder. That didn't come till years later.
Right.
And then building a ring like that, I mean, that's freaking ingenuity. Like, that's the thing that impressed me about when I watched this. A lot of times, obviously, the wrestling's not very good, right?
No.
But watching, like, man, these kids, what the hell? Like, how they pull this off? You know?
Well, and the thing with that 85, the wrestling got better only because the ring was, we could hit the ropes now compared to that.
These kids are running the ropes good.
Yeah.
The kids are running the ropes good. I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It was more of a functioning ring. It still wasn't this next video we're going to watch is going to be 86, and this is where we eventually get a professional wrestling ring. So 86.
That's a real ring.
Yeah, coming up here, this video I'm going to show you now. We're going to go to 86.
Are you going to
This,
show them the dungeon too?
oh yeah, dungeons in there as well.
Oh,
Starts out with that, but you'll see the regular ring when it shows up in the video here. So let's take a look at 86. This was probably our biggest year, right, Dave, for growth, I would say.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right, let's take a look at 86.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NWF. Super E's, I got a big surprise for you. Here's my tag team partner, Mr. X.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. The Super D's throw Mr. X against the rope. It's stuck.
Oh, he went over the top rope.
From the airplane,
This guy is some, looks like he's been wrestling alligators, and he belts the ref one.
Rattlesnake, you're a bit vicious. I think some of the things that you did tonight.
Of course I'm vicious. What do you think they call me, the rattlesnake?
Welcome to the NWF Junior Professional Wrestling.
Hip toss. Takes him down. Certainly will get another shot for the title. Oh, and a clothesline. And he gives him a drop kick. Oh!
I'd like to have a rematch, but I've got bigger and better things to go on to.
You haven't heard The Last of Us, Invaders.
You can't put the Barbarians down, Steenerson, or anyone else.
Dr. Destruction in. Oh, and a big kick. Not another one. Oh, flying head scissors. What a well-executed maneuver by Crusher Crossen. Butcher and Steenerson haven't stopped double teaming since they got in here. A big body slam. We need help, ladies and gentlemen, for Kid USA Kelsey. Oh my! Look at this. We don't know how bad Kid USA Kelsey's hurt. That's
I hope I broke his arm. I intended to do that.
Just his low budget.
Leapfrog sets him up. Another leapfrog.
Oh, and it's not that look good. Sets him up. Flying by first. 1, 2, 3 to go. Champion. He's got it back. He's won the title back.
X, I heard you shouting your mouth off earlier. You're gonna go on to bigger and better things, so what much more can you get that's bigger and better, X?
Go for the pin.
Macho, you watch out, because I'm coming for you.
Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you all next week. So long, everybody.
1986, where we transitioned to live events.
This is insane to me, man. You're in a freaking arena.
Yeah, well, armories.
And there's a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 450 people, if you want to call that a crowd.
That's a crowd. Shit.
Yeah, that was the biggest growth. We didn't know what kind of, when we did our first live event at the
Man, why'd you stop doing this?
Well, there's a whole story there, but we didn't know what we were going to get for a crowd, to be honest with you.
That's amazing. Were you selling tickets? These people paid?
Oh yeah, we sold the tickets in advance, but most of those people came through the gate.
Crazy.
We had like 60 advance sold, I think.
So how many did you do after that? Did you only do one, or did you
No,
keep going
we did 5 Anoka Armory events. The biggest was October that Dave was on with the sellout of 450.
That's astounding to me that 450 people come to watch a bunch of kids wrestle.
One of the worst event we had, our worst attendance was a little over 50 people, which to us was a disappointment because we were expecting hundreds like we had the time before. But the other one we did, the last one, I didn't realize the NWA was coming to town. They were in Bloomington at the Met Center for the first time in decades. Crockett came out, and I booked the same night at Anoka. We had 70 people show up at our show. So for me, that was a win.
With NWA in town.
I know, because I would have wanted to go to that show.
He's like, I'm leaving.
But yeah,
Dude, that's amazing. That is freaking amazing. I am so impressed that you could pull that off at that age. Unfreaking believable. I mean, that was unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Is that whole show up here on the channel?
Yeah, we did the watch along in October, didn't we, Dave? Yeah,
Yeah, we did the October watch along. We've done the July watch along. We've done the May watch along.
I still want to do we did a dual event with Eddie Sharkey. When Eddie Sharkey
Shut
heard about
up, really?
Yeah, when he
Yeah.
heard about our Anoka Armory events, he wanted to. I went out
sure he
and
did.
I met him at one of his shows, and he's like, he knew me. He's like, I know you. You did the NWF at the Armory. He had heard the news. He goes, we got to do a show together. He wanted to do something immediately, and I was like, yeah, let's do a show together. I was a sponge to any of that, right?
That would have been a great experience for you, man.
And we did. We
And-
did the Champion Legion, and it was a big, huge sellout there for his. It was his venue, but he gave us like 2 matches, and I got the rights to video it all. So I've got all the video. I got that whole show. There's guys
Well,
like
that's-
Ricky Rice and.
Getting to work with Sharky, man, that's awesome, bro.
Oh yeah, I
And
spent a
on the
lot of time
show-
with Eddie.
On that show, we also had a current WWE Hall of Famer before the Hall of Famer was known.
Ooh,
Yep. One Medusa Michelli.
shut up.
She was a valet at the time. She was Ricky Rice's valet. She was just getting into it. And we had to caught her on camera a couple times, but we didn't know she was going to be a big star, right?
I actually talk to her on Twitter sometimes.
Yeah. She was just starting out though. She wasn't on the card as a wrestling that night, but she came out as with Ricky Rice to be his valet.
Yeah, most girls start out as valets.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You should have kept promoting, bro.
Well, I did for quite a while. As a
No,
matter of
as
fact,
an adult, you should have promoted. But that's good stuff.
yeah, I mean, it was. I tell you, Carmine, at that time, I was all in. It was my life.
You have to be.
I put it above school. My parents didn't like that, but I did.
You have to be all in, or it's not going to work.
Yeah, it was 24/7 for me in those days. Let me show you the final video, 1987. This is going to show you where the league, what it turned into. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, Kenny B here at ringside along with beautiful Bobby Ferrari. And Bobby, quite a show lined up for today.
Well, all I know is let's get on with the NWF action and let's get ready.
We'll be back after this word. He's coming out with a flying dropkick. He got him high. Hammered him to the mat. A knee drop. That could be it right there. Could be lights out for him. They're both struggling. Nobody can get the other one. Some Mexican, look out! Boom! Kabang right into the mat.
At the March 20th Anoka Armory, we are going for it. Macho.
I'll team up with Crusher Crossen, Invader 1, Dixie Dave, White Ninja, it don't matter. These guys, I'm gonna get them.
Big shoulder block by Randall. That could do it right there. That could be lights out. Wails him off the ropes. Here we come again. Big look out. Afternoon. Oh my, giant clothesline drilled him to the mat. Macho, Kid Kelsey again, this time an on-title bout.
Think you're funny? Non-title, huh? And everybody knows we're gonna be the champions of the future. Everybody knows we're the ones to look out for. We get put in with a couple of has-beens.
USA Kelsey at ringside here. Mr. Macho swinging a kick, Crusher Crossen. He caught him. Oh no, my God! Right onto the mat.
Open, and looks like a gut-wrench suplex.
Controversial match. Can't take it away from you. You are the champion.
Yes, it was controversial because Crusher Crossen lost his head. And we're gonna see who the winner of this next match is. We're gonna see who the true champion is, because right now, buddy, you got the title.
Your opponent on the 27th is none other than Dr. Dread.
What?
Doctor.
What are you talking about? I'm not putting my name on the line against him.
You know, it wasn't that long ago that Dr. Dread was one of the most feared and ruthless men in wrestling.
Down on the mat. What's he doing? Oh! And not looking in too much pain. A reversal!
Not another.
A pile driver! Oh!
A forward pile driver?
Great. Vicious forearms to the back, but each one perfectly legal.
Beautiful. Comes up. Whoa! Big clothesline.
A lot of power from the equalizer thus far.
Kid's built real well. Hey, Pretty Boy Taylor agreed to wrestle Dirty Ernie. What?
Silence! What? Grizzly Stevens, listen up. You want me, you got me, fat man. Come get me. Crusher, you want me, you come get me. I'm right here right now. Let's go now.
I saw you
So there was basically what the league kind of turned into, pretty much an independent league at the time in the
I was saying
Metro
this
West.
time you see some kids can work, like they're actually decent workers, and then some guys still with that brutal clothesline that looks like you're gonna break your arm by clotheslining the guy. Um, just a straight out arm. I watched them like they still haven't learned how to clothesline, and then I saw a couple guys here. And I'm like, oh shit, they can work. Um, so yeah, that's interesting stuff, man. I'm sad watching this back. I'm sad watching that you guys let it go. That's 40
Well,
years
we
ago,
didn't
but I mean,
necessarily let it go. What happened was,
I remember the report came out on the news because I was watching that episode, and then you
yep.
guys had to get it out of the house. You had to move somewhere else, and I guess
Oh
that's the
yeah,
studio you just showed.
right. No, that was in the earlier years. But what happened here is I decided I had nowhere to go with the NWF at this point, so I sold the ring to whoever owned the ring owned the promotion. So I sold the
Sure.
ring to Ernie Ellis, who then agreed to keep promoting the NWF and keep us kids involved as well as adults. We kind of had a mix, and that's what
I
it turned
saw
into in
that.
the end there.
Yeah.
And it went on for another few months, and then a guy by I don't know, Jim Mitchell. Remember Jim Mitchell, the Iron Duke?
Okay.
Was
Yeah. Sure.
was kind of a jobber and a ref.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, he did some local promotions like with Eddie Sharkey, and he showed up at our first Armory card even and shook my hand and said, "Good job." And I remember when I met Eddie Sharkey, I said, "Eddie, a guy by the name of Jim Mitchell came," and he's like, "Kid, he's bad news. Stay away from him." So I did. So I never had nothing to do with Jim Mitchell, but Jim eventually convinced the NWF guys to merge with him, and then he just took it over, used his guys.
Yeah, and just got rid of you guys, and you guys didn't
Yep.
start over again.
No, at that point. So then what I did is I was going to college, and then Eddie Sharkey called me up,
So
and
you're an adult now. You got other things going on.
right, and Eddie said, "Hey, do you want to come just work for me, just wrestle?" And I said, "Sure." So for an 89 and 90, me and another guy in the show, Troy Steenerson, went and worked with Eddie for a while. But I was in Wisconsin, Carmine, and I couldn't do the whole traveling thing.
Sure.
And my dad wasn't a fan. He's like, "You know what? You're going to pay for this years later. Your back's going to pay for it. You really,
Probably right. He's probably right.
So he has in my other ear saying, "You got to stop."
Unless you're going to make it, and even if you make it, you're still going to pay for it. And I mean,
Yeah.
you came along at a time where, first of all, what you did was unheard of, right? Because the Hardys later on and Mick Foley and all that transitioned basically from backyard to workers. But you came along also at a time where it is very hard on your body, and it wasn't. They worked much stiffer, they worked much tougher, and the money wasn't as good. So it's not like you were like, well, I broke every bone in my body and I'm in constant pain, but I've got $8 million in the bank, and that wasn't going to happen in the '80s. In the '80s, unfortunately, it was you're going to break every bone in your body, and then later on, Vince McMahon's going to forget about you, and you're not going to make any money, and you're going to have to work the indies for the rest of your life. So all in all, I think you probably made the right decision. It's just that watching it and seeing young people pull this off is just so impressive to me. I started promoting. I know how to do it young too. I started promoting at 18, and it was a man's business, right? And then there come these younger promoters that come out here, and in the '90s, ECW's hot, and we're getting involved. They just decommissioned New Jersey, and so it was a learning curve for us too. And I worked with a lot of great promoters and a lot of great wrestlers to learn the industry. But I mean, to see you guys, you didn't have the avenues and the internet and stuff that I had when I came on. I mean, you had to do this from the ground and promote it on television and get on television, number one, and then promote it on television and work the area and to sell out those arenas. I'm just super impressed that you guys pulled that off. It's so impressive to me. It's so impressive to me.
Thanks, Carmine. We really appreciate that comment. But the way the Armory came about was just me walking down the sidewalk with a couple of the guys, and I said, there was a sign that said gun show, and I'm thinking, I envisioned NWF. I'm thinking, maybe we can do a show here. And they're like, "Are you nuts? Get out of here." They thought I was kidding. I'm like, "No, let's go in." So I convinced them to come in with me, and I talked to the drill sergeant. And this old timer, this old geezer, must have been ready to retire. But he treated me like an equal. I was a 16-year-old kid. And he's treated me just like anybody else. He says, "This is what it takes. This is how much it would cost. This is how much we need down." And I think we needed $200 down to get it for a day. So I said, all right. And I'm convinced we're doing it. So I said, guys, we're going to do it. And they were not on board at first, but I said,
That's
so where are we going to get the money? I said, well, what we'll do is we'll get sponsors. We'll go around town and ask these businesses to sponsor.
how did you know to do that?
Well, I just
'Cause somebody had to teach me that. Somebody had to teach me you go get sponsors.
I didn't know how, but I figured I seen other fundraising things like this for sports stuff in school. I thought we should do the same. So, and I said, and I said, well, what are they going to give us money for? I said, well, we'll put up some program guides. We'll put their business cards. We'll put them in there, and that's going to be their payoff. So the banks, I'll tell you something. A lot of businesses wouldn't do it, but banks and car dealerships, I learned real quickly, they will do it.
Banks and car dealerships have such ginormous ad budgets that they have to spend.
Yeah.
It was the first places we would hit. First places we would hit. Banks and car dealerships and restaurants. Restaurants also always want to do whatever's in the area. So
Yeah.
those are the first places you hit, and then it's harder as you get down to the smaller mom and pop type businesses that are working on more of a shoestring budget. But
Right. They were
business,
the ones that were tough to get.
but banks and car dealerships have to spend this money, so they're just burning it. They're just
And
burning it.
and they were very willing. And so
Sure.
and then they would also one of the banks would sell our tickets for us in advance. So we'd
That's
put on our
cool.
posters, tickets available at this bank. And
What we used to do is so you give a certain level of sponsorship, bronze, silver, gold, and then like you would get a certain amount of free tickets that you can give to your customers or whatever that we would give you with that
right.
sponsorship, and you can give the tickets away. You can come yourself, whatever, and then we give you like an ad in the ad program,
Yeah.
and whatnot. And that's how we worked it,
A
you know.
couple other things I did, Carmine, is I went to the local radio station, which was a big station at the time in the area, and I gave them tickets because they had a morning show. I figured I'll give them
Absolutely.
tickets, and then they promote it, and that's exactly what happened. It didn't cost us a dime.
So
I remember
smart.
when I dropped the tickets off, they said, "Are you one of the wrestlers?" I said, "Yeah," and I said, "We all are." And they like, "Want to come on the air?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll come on the air." So we did like a live promo right on the air. It was great.
That's so cool. Okay, so may he
Yeah,
rest in peace. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff came on with me, and we did great guy, and we did a radio spot at Seton Hall's Pirate Radio, and we did
yeah,
giveaways there, and then we did giveaways. We were very fortunate in the area I'm in. We also did like some of the New York stations that were bigger, and of course, I got WWE names on there at the time, so it's easier to get the airplay. But that's the greatest way. Yeah, you go to the radio stations, give away free tickets, it's free advertising, and works every time. They're always looking to give
right.
away stuff. So I mean, for your young mind to work that out amazes me.
And I'll tell you, we got some media coverage. I'll pull one in here for you just to see. Star Tribune did a story on us.
Wow.
It was a colored
And
picture,
that's
and at
the
the time,
newspaper out of
it was really
Minneapolis.
rare.
Yeah, in the '80s, you didn't get color in the paper, man.
Our local paper here in Anoka, they did a front page story on their sports section, and this was a B86, and then big write up is showcasing that first event we did. That was great stuff. And then because we had enough recognition, I would get the Minneapolis Star Tribune to do what they call spectator sports. I would call in our events, and they'd put it in the paper. You see
Shut
there on
up.
Saturday, there's one of our events right there. They're promoting it. And it's free. Doesn't cost a dime. So
Luscious Larry. Luscious. Was he luscious? Was he actually luscious?
he thought he was. But yeah, that's and then they'd also do our match results. So this is the first Armory event we did. They estimated the crowd 500. It was actually about 350.
Yeah, good. Take the heat.
But yeah, this is all like, to me, this was all like free publicity stuff. So
Yes, smart.
I don't know
The
if I got
Ring
this from
Warriors. I like
Twin
that. The Ring
Cities Reader.
Warriors.
This is a free paper in the Metro. They covered it.
That
So
is
all
so
this
wild, man.
and all that media coverage, Carmine, was all positive spins. It wasn't like, this is dangerous. What are these kids doing? When backyard wrestling hit in the 90s,
Different
it
thing
gave,
though. They were doing jumping off of roofs and blading.
right, and it just gave a black eye to doing this stuff untrained.
Bro, it was so bad. I hate to keep talking about my experience, but I remember when the backyard wrestling thing hit in the '90s, and I mean, having shows booked in schools. We had shows booked, and having the schools call and cancel the shows because it was so negative. It was so negative, and then the Attitude Era, like it was great for fans and everything, but in the business wise, it crushed us. Nobody wanted. And now we used to say handing a kid. We would go on the beach sometimes down we call the shore, um, in Jersey, the Jersey Shore, and we handing a kid a wrestling flyer in front of his mom was like handing him a crack vial. It was, yeah, they didn't want nothing to do with it. They're seeing the half naked women on TV and the blood and the violence, and
Right.
they don't want their kids. They don't want their kids around that, and so yeah, you would have better luck handing out cocaine than handing
Right.
out a wrestling flyer. It was crazy, and so you understand, obviously, the business got so much heat. I get to see you guys getting praised like that there. It's just it's a product of the time. Where they would say, obviously, me, I'm a capitalist. I am I'm all for innovation and people building success, rather than the government creating an even playing field. Now, you guys are in Canada; it's a little more socialist than here. Your government definitely puts its thumb on the scale, the way our Democrats would love to put the thumb on the scale. But a little thing called the Constitution stops them here, and I'm getting off my soapbox. But um, to see somebody build something from the ground up
Right.
always makes me smile, and it's like, yeah, man, if these kids can build a business and a TV product, what's your excuse, right? So if you want something hard enough, you can make it happen, man. You guys made it happen, and I'm just like, seriously, like I tell you, I watch this stuff because it's mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing to me that kids pulled this off. Absolutely mind blowing. And he's like I said, I look at it now. I'll watch you guys. I've watched the show from time to time, and literally a few weeks ago, I was laying in bed watching it on YouTube, and I'm like, man, it's crazy. It's crazy how these kids did this
And
in
you're
the
right.
'80s.
You're right, Carmine. The level of every kid was different.
Yeah,
Some were better than others. The wrestling was never textbook perfect. And we don't pretend it is.
bro, they're kids.
Even, I mean, me and Dave today, like we know what we did, right?
Sure.
And we're not trying to pretend we're professionals with a capital P by any means. But I think we realized enough, at least me and Dave did, that it was a unique thing at the time. And another thing I'll share with you, Carmen, because I know you probably don't know, is I was reaching out to everybody, and I sent our tape to Vern Gagne, Minneapolis
Shut
Boxing
up.
Wrestling Club. Yeah, it's right. I've seen it in the phone book. I knew their address, so I did it early on in that Group W stuff. I sent them one of those tapes, and what I got back was an autograph, 8x10, to my buddy Sean. Best wishes, Vern Gagne, and that was it. And I'm thinking that's not what I want. I love it, but I'm thinking he does all these local little interview things with wrestling stuff that's going on in the area. I thought maybe he'd have us come on. My 14-year-old mind thinking here.
Sure.
So nothing happened. So I decided to call him, and I was nervous as hell. I'm like, I don't know who I'm going to get here.
I remember when
So
I called Killer Kowalski, so I know the feeling.
yeah, so I asked for Vern Gagne. They put me on a hold. I'm thinking, oh my God, am I going to get Vern here? And I get a guy by the name of Roy Nelson. I'm like, Roy? And I said, Roy Nelson. He's like, yeah, I'm Vern's talent agent. I said, okay. He's like, yeah, we got your stuff, and we're just not sure what we want to do with you. But you know what? Feel free to call us anytime. Talk to me. Let me know what you're up to. Keep us abreast, and let's just go from there. So that's what I did, Carmine. I from that point on in '84 all the way through, I would let them know everything we were doing. And I'll tell you something. That KSTP news report that you seen on that one
Just
video
like
where they did,
Gagne's boys. Yeah.
there was AWA footage in there, and I learned years later that Vern had to okay that. So he gave permission for them to use his footage with our story.
Oh, did you ever actually get to talk to Vern though?
I never talked to Vern. I was always Roy. But we did things, Carmine, that Vern went after other groups. Like we used All Star Wrestling. We used that on our posters.
Oh,
That's
wow.
his trademark at the time. I didn't know it. And I would let Roy know. I said, yep, we're doing our event. We got the posters up, and I'd always send them stuff. And they had never, ever told us, don't do that or don't do this.
That is
So they let us get away with some of this stuff that I read in the paper that he would go after other groups, if they did that.
Sure, because you can't. Yeah, you can't. I remember
So
with WWE, we couldn't say a TLC match. We couldn't even say tables, ladders, chairs. You'd have to say ladders, tables, chairs, or something like that because you couldn't. That was his trademark.
But I think, Vern's thing was he always would say, kids, don't try this at home. But at the same time, I think part of Vern admired what we were doing.
Of course.
You'd
It's
have
the
to.
whole. It's the whole building it on your own is it's kind of because all these guys who made it, Vern and Stu and all these guys who made it, they did it because they didn't have an easy road. It's like when I came along in the business, there's wrestling schools and there's all kinds of that shit didn't exist even in your day. That didn't
Right.
exist. You couldn't go to a wrestling school. It didn't exist. You had to break into the business, literally break into the business. You had to kick doors down.
Right. Eddie
And
Sharkey
it's
was the only guy that I knew who was training people, and he wanted X amount of dollars.
a lot of money.
Now, I was lucky because I got to be friends with him, and I could hang out with Eddie at his camp all the time, which I did. And not only would I get tips and techniques of my wrestling, but I was a sponge to everything he said. I soaked in everything he said. And
One of your commenters said it's a different time. Somali wrestling just started a GoFundMe, and Will Ospreay donated $2,000. What could have been? Yeah, I think you could have GoFunded me this all day long.
Yeah, sorry guys, I haven't been keeping up on the comments, but let's bring that comment in that you talked about there.
You could have definitely crowdfunded this thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, if we had those things, like I look at it now, Carmine, and I look at it with 2020 vision, like, gosh, if I wish I could do this different. I wish I could do that different. I wish I had HD.
I'm assuming this was one of your wrestlers, Unbroken.
No, let me see. No, he's just a YouTube user.
Oh, because he was saying it like I thought he was saying it like he was there.
Yeah, no, I think he's just one of our fans from our channel that came in.
You know what, Sue? And I got to get going because I haven't had dinner yet.
Yep.
But what makes me angry? You guys are in Canada, right?
No. I'm
No,
in Salt Lake City. I'm in Utah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in Canada.
I know. I got that. Like I think Carmen thinks up in Canada. I like to
the
say I
accent is very
title
Canadian.
up there, but I know I've only been there on vacation.
The accent is very Canadian. Okay, so
yeah, Minnesota, too close to Canada.
Yeah, as George Jesse Ventura would say, Minnesota. But here's the thing. Who does his voice really good? Oh, who's that guy?
I know. I've seen his videos. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, if you YouTube Jesse Ventura impressions,
He sounds just like him.
Unbelievable. But anyway, I'm gonna rant for just a second. In today's bitch ass wussy, I'll use the word wussy world, you could never pull this off. There would be groups, there would be people. How could they do that? Your parents would be in jail. It would be crazy.
Yeah,
Today, you
that
couldn't
was
do
the
it.
question I had, Carmen. Do
We
you
have
think this would ever happen again?
no, because we have bitchified everything. You got here's your helmet and your knee pads and your elbow pads, so you could ride a bike down the street. We were jumping over ramps, no helmet, no elbow pads, falling off the damn bike onto concrete. Get up, get back on the bike, try it again, pulling off. We thought we were Evil Knievel.
If
Wrestling is that.
if
You
you
know
wore
what?
one of those bike helmets in our day, you would be beat up by the other kids.
You'd get your ass kicked. You'd get your ass kicked.
Exactly.
So to do wrestling, forget it.
Yeah.
No, we have. I saw my nephew, my little baby nephew, my niece's son. I love him. He's on. Remember the big wheels?
Yep.
So your butt is like 3/4 of a centimeter off the cement, just on top of this plastic piece on top
Yep.
of the big wheel. You're close to the ground, and he's on the bike and he's wearing a helmet. And I said to my niece, if he stood up, he'd be further from the ground than he is right now. Why has he got a helmet on?
Right.
You wrapping the kids in bubble wrap. You got him in. What's going on?
And honestly,
I
is
said
that
to her, I said,
silly
we were
looking
kids,
helmet really going to help him?
and she was a tough little girl. I said, me and you were jumping bike ramps over other kids who were laid out flat, jumping over that with no helmet, and you get your kid in bubble wrap.
Right.
What's going?
Yep.
And oh yeah, but kids used to get injured back then. But that's how we weeded them out.
But Carmine, the parents would come and just drop their kids off. There was no adult supervision at our stuff. It was just us running it.
No.
Unless you count Steve Engstrom as an adult who was
Kids
there.
Kids who are watching out there. Yeah, we had this thing called outside when we were kids, and our parents would let us go there, and then we'd come back when we were done, and nobody knew what happened. Nobody knew what happened when you were outside. Now you said this guy came and wrestled with you, and he was an adult. Now
Yep.
today we would call that guy a pedo.
Right,
And
which people label him that today, not knowing. But if
yeah,
you knew the Steve I knew, you knew he was anything but that. He had
why do they call
nothing
him
to
that
do with
today?
that. Well, but that's what they label him today. You're right. I would say ever since Michael Jackson, that's when that really kicked into
Because you're an
gear.
adult hanging out with kids, it's suspect.
Yeah.
But I think of that many kids, you'd probably get your ass kicked if you tried something. Uh, but are you still friends with the guy?
Yeah, I mean, we've reconnected. He's been on our show.
So how
We
much older is he than you guys?
He was 10 years older than me at the time.
Yeah, so that's crazy, right? And you were like
Right.
what,
I was
16?
16, he's 26.
Yeah, that's crazy. And this guy just wanted to have a good time,
Yeah.
and have some fun. And hopefully he's a hopefully married man or whatever now.
Well,
Um,
Carmine, he was good. I mean, he brought all of us up another level in our technique in the ring. I would argue he's probably one of the best outright bumpers at the time ever. He was that good.
really? And why didn't
Yeah,
he get
I
to? He was just too small to work with
He's
the.
just too small. He was,
Yeah.
buck 60, buck 70 maybe. At
If
that
he could
time,
pass
that's
for
not enough.
16, if he could pass for 16, now, yeah, nowadays you can make it. You can make it
Yeah.
looking like
Yep.
that. Back then you had to be a monster. You had to be big. You had to be 300 pounds, 250 pounds. These guys weren't small. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm getting on my rant. Like I think we just pussified the world, and certainly in this country, I could see mom groups out there fighting to shut you down if you tried that today. And it's like I want to say to these people, like, don't you remember we were kids? We did this crap, and then now everything has to be sanitized, and sterilized, and I don't know, man. I mean, I saw a video the other day where this kid, I said the other day, it was a couple months ago, this kid in school punches this other kid. And when the kid gets punched, he turns around and goes, points at the kid and goes, "That is not okay. That is not okay." I'm like, I want to punch you now, kid. Punch him
Yeah.
back. What are you doing? But
Yeah,
the mind,
exactly.
the mind don't work like that. I'm talking to kids, right? My girlfriend's kid, who's a young man now, he's in his 20s. Cousins that I have, they've been in zero fights in life.
Yeah.
In zero fist fights. You couldn't get to
Wow.
age 8 in I grew up in the inner
No.
city. You couldn't get to age 8 in my neighborhood without being in at least 2, 3 fist fights. I'm telling you, with a group of kids like that, you had wrestling in there. You guys had fist fights all the time. There's
Right.
no way you wouldn't have fist fights all the time.
Well, when you and I went to school, there was a hierarchy. I mean, you didn't lip off to the older kids or you get your ass kicked.
And guess what? And teachers would be like,
Yep.
unless they got too bad, because this is how you learn. Like this is how you
Right.
learn in life. It's been going on since the dawn of humanity until about 15 minutes ago.
Right.
It's what I always say when they're like, well, why is it that why can't women do men's jobs, and why can't men dress like women, and why can't the woman be the breadwinner? I'm like, I don't know. It's worked for all of human history till like 10 minutes ago, the way we've
Yep.
had it. All of a sudden now it's a different. Oh, we've evolved. No, you've devolved, man. You forgot who you are, and so we're animals at heart. And there is a survival of the fittest, rough and tough. Your guys, your boys, you're supposed to see who the king of the jungle is and who the toughest kid is. And that's how you develop that hierarchy when you're younger. Who's going to be the leader? Well, the guy who can kick the most ass. That's the leader.
Well, I was going to tell you, Carmine,
You
I told you we did shoots for title matches. At the end of 85, that came to an end with us because I was involved in a shoot with who was a good friend of mine. And after I beat him for that match and that title, we didn't talk. He didn't talk to me for about 6 weeks. So I realized that, friendships are more important. This isn't the way, unless you're in Japan, you don't do shoots. So we should probably be doing this as a work anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the end of shoot title matches.
But that was probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That's probably a good idea. I think it's awesome that you stay in touch with all these guys. And I think as old men, you should have a reunion show
We've come close to doing that.
at the Armory.
Yep.
Right?
The
And
thing
the
is,
older
some of us are just a little too old now. I don't know if we can
No,
do
the
it
older
anymore.
the better. The older the better. You get a cane in there. You start whacking the other guy, classy Freddie Blassie style. Dude, I'll promote it, man. Let's do it. Geriatric wrestling from the Anoka Armory. Yo, the worst thing about promoting, I gotta go after this. I really gotta go. My girlfriend's
Yep.
gonna kill me. The worst thing about promoting in an armory is there's no air conditioning.
Right.
So in the summertime, you do not want to be in that place.
And when we did our sellout, man, we had a janitor guy who was watching the armies there. He's like, we got a capacity limit, and you're getting pretty close. And I said, dude, he goes, how many people are getting here? I said, yeah, according to my numbers, about 300. I didn't want to tell him because I was afraid he's going to start turning people away. We saw people coming in.
That's freaking amazing. That is so amazing to me. I am. Oh, thank you so much. Gizmo is my. It was my dog. May he rest in peace. My previous dog, 17 and a half years. So I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys are watching me on Explain America, that's awesome. I
I
appreciate that.
love your stuff. I watch it every time it comes up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Listen, Carmine, I know you
Thanks a
got to
lot.
go. I want to thank you very much for coming on and sharing your 2 cents and taking
Please have
time
me
with
on
us. You're a
again.
busy guy.
Please have me on again sometime. I love this. I love this. I'm so impressed with you guys. I've told you this before in private, but it's amazing to me. So I can't help but really shower you with praise on this. To me, in the eight again, I want people to watch it at home to understand. Maybe you're younger and you just found this channel and you're watching. To pull this off in the '80s with video cameras and a ring and all this stuff would be like trying to, go to the moon in Fred Flintstone's era. Like it's unheard of. The
Well,
fact that these kids pull this off is mind blowing.
see, Carmine, we weren't just using regular video cameras. We went to the local cable company
Oh
and signed
damn!
up for them.
Shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, a lot of times you're using Sony U-matic 3/4 inch.
Even just the fact that you
Yeah.
get 3/4 inch, but 3/4 inch was all the way up to the '90s. In the late
Yeah.
'90s, using 3/4 inch, we used to have to submit our TV commercials
Yeah.
in 3/4 inch. But that's even how you knew how to operate those cameras at that age.
Yeah. Well, they had the free courses at the cable company. And that's how I learned.
Oh,
But
that is
yeah,
so
and then
cool.
we had access to their studio and the control room and all that stuff. So
You were kind of like the Stu Hart, the Ganya of your friends, man. I mean,
yeah. And my
normally,
thing, Carmine, I didn't care how good you were. And this is my fault. Maybe I should have been more critical, but I said, I don't care how good you are, kids. When you would, anybody who wanted to join could come on. I just wanted there to be that venue because as a kid, I wish there was when there wasn't. That's why I started the NWF.
man, I watched this and I'm jealous that we didn't have this because we were wrestling on grass, and we were fighting. We were fighting. We didn't. It wasn't wrestling is a strong word. We were fighting
Right.
on grass.
And that was always the hardest thing to get kids to understand that it is a work.
Yeah.
You might be losing, but there's a reason. We're building it up for another match. That was the hardest thing to get
Teach
over.
them. Teach it. Well, listen. It's hard to get over with adults.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain. We're telling a story here. It's hard with adults. You fucking 50-year-old. Excuse my language. 50-year-old wrestlers.
All right.
You're like, hey, look, we got to. Oh, I don't want to do the job. God, listen, guy, it's fake. Yeah, that's
Right.
what. Like,
There's,
you
and
got guys.
you know this, Carmen. There's guys that will say, if I could be champion and get $500 less, I want that. Then they'll take
Crazy.
that over the
It
more money.
is
Are they nuts?
nuts to me. There are guys who will. I'm going to sign with the NWA instead of WWE because they'll make me the world champion. Well, okay, you're the world champion who's working a side job at the Piggly Wiggly. What do you? I'd rather be a jobber making $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
Your
That's for
ego
sure.
is so important to you. That you have to. I don't know. You're like, I'm the world champion. Can I squeegee your windows? Who cares? Who cares, champ? I'd
I
rather be
get
a
it.
jobber and get paid a lot of money. So, but a lot of these guys, bro, it's the truth, and until their 50s. I mean, they want to be the man. It's
Right.
about their ego. Heck with the money. Guys have turned down more money from WWE, and I talk to my friends, like, hey, where do you think so and so signed? And I'm like, well, whoever pays him the most money, if he's smart. I mean, that's
Right.
Yep.
you know.
I,
He's like, I have a friend who's really, really, he's a marketer. He's like, yeah, but I think WWE's not using LA Knight, as good as the way Impact was using them. So yes, yeah, but I think he likes the checks better here. You know,
Exactly.
he's like, yeah, but that's not, he must be miserable. I'm like, I doubt it. I doubt it. He's making a fortune on merch. I think he's pretty
and,
happy.
and
But people
Carmen,
don't think like that.
before you do go off, next time you talk to Eric Bischoff, tell him to keep doing what he's doing. I love his work. Love listening to him talk. When he was a guest on your show, it was great.
Yeah, I still text with him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. I just he's a great storyteller, and
He is.
honestly, I believe most of what he says. I think he's telling the truth.
Yeah, no, he's a straight guy. Listen, here's the
Yeah.
thing. Eric does a lot of shows, and he does his own show, and his story don't change.
Right.
Other guys, their story changes and evolves. Eric's story is Eric's story, and that's usually a sign of somebody who's telling the truth. So,
Yeah.
Exactly.
and just a great guy. He's just a
Yeah.
great, kind, nice gentleman.
Yeah. He's
I'm
just
a fan.
north. He's just north from me. He's just up in Wyoming. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. So he's just north in Wyoming. But
Yeah, Eric doesn't big star you. He doesn't.
yeah.
He doesn't big league anybody. If you were to meet
Yeah.
him, he would just treat you like a dude, regular dude. He
Yeah.
doesn't. He
No, I
does not.
remember.
There's no ego about him, really. I mean, it's hard to believe you watch the Eric Bischoff character on WCW, but that's not the man.
I was such an AWA guy though back in the day. I remember when Eric started. I watched him during all that AWA stuff.
I was very fortunate, and I do have to go, but I was very fortunate because here in New Jersey, we got AWA, WCCW, WWE, and NWA, and plus our local indie. We got everything here, so I could watch it all, and I
Yeah, because
did watch it all.
yeah, you had the UHF channels kicking in
Hell
then too.
yes,
So yeah,
hell
you had
yes.
all that.
But AWA was on
Yep.
ESPN. AWA was
Right.
on ESPN. So was WCCW.
Right.
And so AWA was for 5 days a week here, and I watched it 5 days a week.
I'll leave you with this last one, Carmine. That last Armory show we did, one of the things I did, and I think this might have upset Vern, but I went to the cable company. I said, "Can I do advertising directly on AWA Championship Wrestling, WCW Championship, Primetime USA? Can I get?" They said, "We can do it." So I said, "Okay, I want to run a commercial. Then I want to pay for it. It cost me $500. I want to place it on their programs." And I did that. And that's part of why we had 70 people show up when we went up against the NWA. Because I had that direct advertising
That
in
is
our market, right? On the cable channels. Yeah.
that's ballsy, kid. That's ballsy.
And I'm thinking
God
to
bless
myself,
you.
Vern, you should do that to those guys. If I was the AWA, for that, he could afford
Yes,
it.
that would have been smart. AWA could have been WWE. AWA should
Yeah.
never went out of business. Should have never went out of business.
Right.
Mismanaged at the end. I mean, I know Vince was a juggernaut, but NWA lasted longer than AWA did, and I think that was a shame because I think AWA had a good enough product. And if those guys could have all put their egos aside, AWA and WCCW and NWA, if they could have put their egos aside, and I want to be the leader, oh no, it's going to be our promotion. If they got together, there could still be two major companies today. But wrestlers and promoters and their egos, never, never. They could never work together.
Right.
That's why it was always doomed to fail.
And for everybody watching, we've been getting your comments. When Carmine leaves here, I will catch up on all your comments. We will get caught up on that. But Carmine, I just want to thank you again for coming in with us. It was great. I loved it. Great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
God
and
bless you
you're
guys.
welcome back.
Anytime.
Anytime you want to come back, just get a hold of Sean or myself. And
now that you have the link, this link will work forever. So if you're going to come back in again, you just use the same link.
When you texted me and it said, "Are you coming to the show?" I'm like, and I saw the first text from like a week ago or whatever, and I'm like, I thought it was just one of those spam bots
Yeah.
that just messages you like, "Hey, Carmen, hey, bro," because I don't think we said my name. Like, "Hey, you coming to the show?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna say no. Who are you?" And then you're gonna send me a picture of a hot girl, and so I thought,
right.
Anyways,
sorry to
guys.
disappoint you on the picture of the hot girl.
Yeah, no, there's no hot girls here, but it's okay. It's okay. You guys should have had a hot girl on your show. That's what.
It's one thing that was missing, except the ballet we had the one time.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it was a pretty hot girl.
Yeah.
Medusa, man. So listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I love
Thank you for
guys.
joining us. Tell Stacy
Thanks
thank
again.
you for sharing
I will.
sharing you with us tonight.
I will.
And you enjoy your evening with her.
You too, gentlemen. God bless you guys. Take care.
Thank you, Carmine.
Have a good one,
Pleasure.
Carmine.
Peace.
Great guy, man. Great guy. Great conversation.
Yeah, Carmine's a blast to talk to.
Yeah. It's the first time I got to talk to him. I've watched him, of course, but to actually talk to him, that was great. I enjoyed that. I have all these comments to get up to. Dave, I know you got an early day, so if you have to cut loose, don't worry. I understand.
I'll stick around for a little bit, and then I'll.
Yeah, I just want to get caught up on these comments because I don't want to leave our guys in the dust here.
Yeah.
Trying to think where we left off here. Let's see.
Oh, we were a ways up there.
Let's see. All right. So did we get this one here from King Coop? Well, this should be interesting. By the way, are you gonna have clips and all structured when you show them from 84 to 87? So he was just so you've seen how we did it, King Coop. It was kind of just a little montage of videos for each year, and that's just to help our guests understand what
Yep.
we were doing for that year. And then also we had it says Facebook users, good evening, fellas. Good to see you. Good to see you as well, Steve Engstrom. So this is Steve. So Steve is
Yep.
joining us tonight watching. I hope he liked everything that you've seen and heard. Steve, if you're still there. There's another one from King Coop. Seeing the promotion throughout the years has been great. You could definitely see the transformation and the budget increase. And 450 people in the Armory back then, that was definitely a crowd. Dave?
Yep.
That was your highlight. Anything to say for that big crowd?
Well, you know what I always say. The one sellout that we had, who was on the show? Dixie Dave.
King Coop followed that one up with, and I know what he's talking about here. That show you were talking about, Crusher Cross, and can you post it on here? That'd be awesome. He's referring to the dual event with Eddie Sharkey.
Yep.
I remember seeing this come in at that time. And me and Dave are planning on doing that as a watch along. You know who I'd really like to have join us for the watch along? I just think he's too old and he doesn't know how to do it. Would be Eddie Sharkey.
Yeah.
But Eddie's old now, guys. He's in his golden years. I don't want to kind of pester him with anything like this either. And so there's that. The other guy I thought would be cool to have on here is I am friends with Derek Dukes, and he was on that show.
Starfire.
Starfire. Thinking he might be a good one to. So I don't know. We're not sure who we want to have come on with us on that one, but yeah, we're gonna definitely. We haven't done it yet, but we will be doing that as a watch along, that dual event with Eddie Sharkey. This is, I think, Steve again. He has a young person. I was about the best time of my life. That's definitely Steve, because I know he talks highly of those years, as he should. It was a great time for all of us. Now here's Unbroken 1010, and this was his first comment. He said, "Thanks for liking my comment and the book." Okay, so I went and liked comments on the. I realized I had a bunch of comments I didn't like today, so I wanted to get caught up on that. So he might be referring to that. And the book and DVD is still somewhere in my house. So he had got the book and DVD back in the day, I guess. One of our, we've had fans throughout the years since I did my book and documentary, and so I think Unbroken might be one of them from earlier. See. Here's an interesting question from Unbroken. Did anyone go on to work in the industry in any form in the future I'm sure he's referring from the NWF.
The extent of that would be Troy.
Well, and me.
Yeah.
We both we actually worked for Eddie Sharkey in 89 and 90. Troy could have went on, though, if Troy would have stuck with it. The problem, Troy was good enough and he was big enough. See, I wasn't big enough. I was $150. At that time was just too small. And I could get by with Eddie, but I couldn't go any further.
And I had done some indie wrestling down in Florida.
Yeah. But you guys were bigger. Troy was big enough. What happened with Troy?
And Troy was one of the first opponents of one Sean Waltman.
Yeah, the Lightning Kid was what he was going by.
Yep.
And he just came into Eddie's territory. I've told this Sean Waltman story before, but it's very interesting because when he first came in, we didn't know he was going to be a Hall of Famer and stuff.
No.
We didn't know he was going to take off. He was just another young guy coming into the territory. And so we had the ring set up, our NWF ring up in Troy's pole barn. And we were working with Eddie at the time, doing the matches with George's and Fridley. And Sean Waltman comes into the league and he wants to Troy, I remember Troy came over to Troy's. He's like, God, that Waltman kid called me again. I said, what's going on? He goes, he's calling me all week. He wants to use the ring because it's bugging me. Troy hated anybody else wanting to use our ring. He just he hated it. I'm like, oh, whatever. Let him come use it. And he's like, hell with him. So Troy was just blowing him off. But we didn't know he was going to be a big star. So Troy ends up having a match with him. And Eddie wanted Troy to put him over, and Troy didn't. Troy stuck. I'm glad Troy stood up for himself. Troy said, "Bullshit,
Yep.
Eddie. I've been here. I've worked it. I've put my time in. He's just came through the door. I'm not going to just put. I'm going to not ruin my gimmick right now for this." So they worked out I think it was a disqualification. Troy threw him over the top rope.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was the extent of it. I know the Rock and Roll Express also did some stuff with Smoky Mountain, our tag team of ours. And the Super D's, while they didn't go into professional wrestling, they went into professional soccer. And they're in the Ring of Honor in Milwaukee as we speak. Todd and Troy Dozowski. And John Hoffman became a professional boxer and promoter. And he was part of the Destructors. So, yeah, people went on to different levels of different things. Not so much always wrestling. Let's see here.
I see a comment from Unbroken that I'll do real quick. It's something that he just said.
Go ahead. I'm just looking for the rest.
He was asking who Ed Sharkey was. Ed Sharkey was a promoter here in Minnesota who did reffing and wrestling for, if I remember correctly, AWA, NWA,
WWF.
and he trained a lot of very well known wrestlers.
Jesse the Body Ventura, Bob Backlund, the Road Warriors, probably the most famous.
One of the Steiner brothers came through his camp. If I remember correctly, the Warlord came through his camp.
Yep.
Nikita Koloff went through his camp.
Jerry Lynn.
Yep. Former ECW champion Jerry Lynn went through his camp. Sean Waltman, X-Pac, 123 Kid, whatever you prefer to call him, went through Ed Sharkey's camp.
That was part of his training.
Ed Sharkey was known for a long time as a trainer of champions.
Yeah. And we got in with him. I spent a lot of time, not only at Eddie's camp when we weren't doing NWS stuff, I'd go to his shows after I met him, hang out with him in the back and all the guys. One of Brian Zane's questions was, would the guys give you a lot of heat when you came into Eddie Sharkey being self-trained? I said, I knew all those guys when they were going through camp because I was at his camp at the same time. So they knew me like a regular. I was a regular face. I didn't get any side glances. So, yeah. So, and then I spent many, many hours on the phone on a Saturday with Ed Sharkey, just shooting the breeze on wrestling, talking wrestling 24/7. Punk Rocker, awesome show. Don't know when I'll be able to catch another live, but I'll be around. Looks like I got quite a few. I couldn't read the rest of it there.
Sorry.
Let's see.
He loved seeing the behind the scenes of it and hearing the stories.
Oh, here's a comment from Sky Sports. I don't want to miss this one. Carmine was worth the wait. He was a great guest on your show. Oh, thank you for that. And I'm glad you guys stuck around. I hope you guys all come back next week when we do our special with Brian Zane, because that's going to be a great conversation. If you guys haven't yet, check out the review he did on us. It's it's an old video. It's got 500,000 views now. It's, if you want to find it, you just search Where Were the Parents, NWF, Where Were the Parents, and that video, that whole thing comes right up, and you can watch his piece. And then we'll be talking to him next week, and that's going to be a great conversation. Kind of similar with what we did with Carmine. Punk Rocker, awesome show.
I saw a question that asked what Carmine's channel was. He's got a channel on YouTube called the BAM Network, which he talks wrestling. And he also has his political channel that he does.
Let's see. Did Sean write a book? He must have so many crazy stories. Are you referring to Sean Waltman? I have
If you're
no idea.
talking about Sean Crossen, Crusher Crossen, yes, he's written a book about the
Yeah, about
NWF.
the NWF. But no, Waltman, I don't know. I don't think Waltman's wrote a book, has he, Dave?
That I know of, no.
You know, I've talked about this before, but I was supposed to have a match with Sean Waltman in the PWA. A guy by the name of Ray Webby, the late Ray Webby, he was promoting Ed in the 90s. In 1990, he was doing all the promoting. And he came down to me in we had that basement locker room at George's in Fridley.
Yep.
When I was done with my match, and he come up and he says, "What do you think about working a match with Sean Waltman for Wrestle for Shelter?" Because Ray Webby, that was his deal. Wrestle for Shelter, that was his whole concept. That was his baby. I said, "Sure, I'll do it." I had never worked with Sean, but you know, when you're Dave, you know this. When at this point in time in our wrestling careers, you know, you could work with anybody.
Yep.
So I said, "Yeah, I'll do a match." So he says, "All right, great. I'm going to try to work that out. I think it'd be a good match." And so then what happened was I decided that, you know, it was a traveling from Wisconsin back and forth. It was too much. I just couldn't do it. So I told Ed, I said, Eddie Shark, I said, "Eddie, I can't do it anymore. It's the traveling, and I already have a full-time job in Wisconsin. I can't do this." So that match with Waltman never happened with me. Would have been an interesting match.
Oh, yeah.
Two similar styles, right? At the time.
Yep.
But yeah, you guys, I hope you like this show. It was a little different kind of show today. Having a guest come on and, you know, let them see what we did and get their take on it. And that's going to be very similar to what we do with Brian Zane next week. And we're also going to pull in some clips from his piece and say, "Brian, we got some questions for you." Right?
Yep.
And Brian's looking forward to it. Like I said, when I talked to Brian earlier, he's like, "How do you want to do this? You want to kayfabe? Do you want to?" He just kind of asked me how we want to approach this whole thing when we do it next week. I said, "Brian, be yourself. Tell it like it is, and do not sugarcoat anything. Do not fluff it up. Tell us how you feel. You know, and that's how we're going to go with it next week."
Yep.
Got a comment here from Gizmo, or one of our regulars. Great change of pace. Love the format. So yeah, this is going to be the format here, guys, for the next couple shows, because like Dave had already alluded to, now obviously next week we're going to have Brian Zane. So NWF Rewind with Brian Zane returns live on Thursday, February 22nd, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. So that's next Thursday, a week from today. We'll have Brian Zane. Similar format as we did today. Then in 2 weeks, as Dave pointed out, we are going to have the NWF Roundtable reunion, if you will, where we're going to have invited NWF guests of the likes Steve Engstrom, a.k.a. Mr. X, Pretty Boy Taylor, Jeff Dinsmore, Dr. Dredd, and the promoter/announcer, Jeff Dinsmore. Jamie McParland will be with us, the Irish Terror, Ricky Vaughn, all the characters he had. We're going to be joined with,
Terry
for the
Kosnoff.
first time, Terry Kosnoff, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yep.
And then also, don't want to forget, Chad Rock and Ronabom will be also joining us. And yourself, myself, and Kid. How can I forget my tag team partner, Kid? USA, Hot Stuff, whatever he's going to go by. We'll see what mood he's in. Kelsey will be with us. And, you know, we're going to talk. It's going to be the eve. I don't know if you know this, Dave. It's going to be the eve of the start of the NWF Hall of Fame voting. Because the next day, we're going to have the Hall of Fame voting take place, where everybody gets a chance at this baby. And I just wonder who's going to be the lucky one that gets this very heavy belt that Andre the Giant would have wore had he won
at WrestleMania 3.
Yep. So that'll be a fun one.
I I've got a variation of that belt, but not quite as nice.
Yeah, that's a 6mm stacked. It's a $600 belt, you guys, and I'm giving it away. People think I'm crazy, but this is how much love I have for the NWF and the fans that tune in with us, Dave, and watch. I wanna give them a crack. If they're gonna take the time to vote and really look at our videos and say, okay, this is who I think, this is who I think, they deserve a crack at some cool stuff.
Exactly.
Besides
And if
that
they're
belt, my blue baby back there, the NWF World Title, that one will be going out as well.
and if whoever wins a book requests or a DVD request, it can be autographed.
Yep, if you want it autographed, we'll do that for you. And don't forget, folks, I showed it earlier, but don't forget we have a brand new NWF Rewind t-shirt on the website for the podcast. Cool shirt. We don't make money on this, you guys. This is just to help promote us.
Yep.
That's advertising for us. So if you'd feel free to get this. However, when you vote, there will be a X amount of these shirts that we'll be giving away in the randomizer as well. So you'll have a chance at some of these shirts that way too. So cool shirt though. But yeah, that's going to be the 29th. So.
Yep. But Crusher, with the morning I explained to you that I have tomorrow, I should be bowing out here. And I will talk to you later in the week about next week's show.
Sounds good.
And
we'll keep in touch.
Folks, I will see you next time I'm on.
All right, I'll wrap up with the comments, Dave,
All
and
right.
we'll see you next week.
Have a good night, folks. See ya.
So, yeah, Dave's gonna leave us there, folks. But I still got a couple more comments to get through here. Sports Talk. Wait a minute, Sports Talk 117 says must have taken a long time to prepare for next show. You don't know the half of it. All those little snippet 3-minute videos, that took time. But I wanted something that our guests could see, a visual. So they knew, because I knew Carmine hadn't seen anything. You've seen his reaction. This was the first time he's seen a lot of this stuff. So I had to give him something that he could see, a visual. And so, we had to kind of go a roundabout way of doing it. He had to go to the YouTube channel. I tested this with Brian Zane earlier when I was with him in the studio, and he could see the videos. So I don't know why that was doing that with Carmine. It must have been the way he came on to it. Maybe he's using his phone and not using the computer. Who knows? But I think Brian next week will be able to see the videos play properly. I'll test it with him before we go live just to make sure. Because I told Brian to come on a little early, and Brian's pretty. Brian really regrets missing it, you guys. He wanted to be here tonight, and so that's why he did these special promos with me. And when I do the rolling credits here, you're going to see another one that I haven't even shown you guys yet. Another little announcement from Brian Zane that he did regarding next week. So I'm going to play that right before the credits when we leave here tonight. So Unbroken says, I'm just going to go Unbroken. It's easier that way. I did not know about all these crazy pro wrestling connections. It's really wild. Yeah, when I wrote the book, Pro Wrestling Kid Style, I touched on some of this stuff. I think I touched on Vern and the AWA and all that, but I didn't deep dive. I didn't tell you how them converse. I wish I kind of almost want to revisit that book and maybe do a 3rd edition or something and just elaborate a little bit better, because there were so many conversations and so many little things we did that I've realized today that this was questionable stuff, man. If Vern wanted to make a stink, he could have. We were using All-Star Wrestling, and that's not the half of it. I was, in my rolling credits, I'd say brought to you by the AWA, and I put Roy Nelson in the credits as the AWA talent agent and all this stuff, just because I was in contact with them. And Roy even brought that up on one of our phone calls. He said, I understand you got me in your credits. And I'm like, oh gosh, what do I say here? I'm like, yeah, I think I said something like that. We just put you in the credits since we've been in touch. It's like, okay. They turned a blind eye to us. I think part of the reason is because we were a group of kids and they knew that. And I think maybe it was Roy that convinced Vern too, or maybe Vern just knew. I'm sure Roy probably convinced him though, because he was his advice guy. He was his talent agent. He probably said, Vern, you really don't want to shut down these kids in any way, shape, or form. You know how bad that would look with all this positive publicity they've been getting? So I'm pretty sure Vern knew that we were popular enough in the Metro that it could be poison for him to try to interfere with us. But at the same time, he didn't really want to endorse us either because he doesn't want to say, hey, kids, do this at home. So I get all that. But I think deep down, honestly, I think Vern Gagne, part of him had to admire what we were doing. You know, the because we were influenced by him. It was his show that convinced me to do what I did. And he knew this. That's why he sent me that autograph that I got on my wall right over here to the right of me. So yeah. And I wasn't a big Vern Gagne guy, but I really admired his AWA, the AWA league that he formed and created, and that was what I grew up on. So here's a comment from Unbroken. You should send a copy to OVW Reviews. It would be fun, maybe even a live reaction. I'm not familiar with OVW Reviews. If you want to explain what that is, I'm up to doing anything. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm not sure what they all review and stuff, but yeah, I have to explain that a little bit and I'm curious what that is. Unbroken says good night to Dave. Thanks for joining in the memories. Absolutely. And I think, let's see, I think I'm all caught up on comments. If I missed any of you guys, I apologize. There's a lot of comments rolling in. It's hard when you're talking and interviewing to bring the comments in, but I think with Brian Zane, I'm going to try to do that more. I'm going to try to bring your comments in while we're talking to them. So hopefully that works out. But it was fun tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. Like I said, a little different format. It's we're kind of getting ready for the Hall of Fame voting. I'm really looking forward to that. I hope you guys all tune in. You know, we always get a handful of viewers live, you know, anywhere from a dozen to 2 dozen. But most of our views come in replay, as you know, if you ever looked at the view count. Anywhere, you know, hundreds and hundreds of views in replay. So hopefully people are watching and they're going to help take part in the Hall of Fame. But so I had a question emailed to me. Somebody asked with their Hall of Fame. By the way, let me bring that information up so people know what I'm talking about. With our Hall of Fame, it's a chance to win free NWF giveaways just for voting, books, DVDs, t-shirts, championship belts, and more. And the NWF Hall of Fame to begin on March 1st, 2024. But somebody asked me, they said, do we have to vote? Do we have to go into the randomizer for free gifts? Can we just vote anonymously? And I said, the way that's going to work, yes, you don't have to go into the randomizer for a free gift. You can just vote. The only thing we need to do is we still need to verify your email address. We have to make sure it's a legitimate vote because there's too many spam bots and stuff that can get involved. And so when you vote, one of the things you have to do is you have to provide your email address. That's all we ask. And then you vote. And then what happens is you then get an email from NWF Wrestling that's going to ask you just to reply to that email to verify it's your email. So you got to reply. And the way it works is if you want to go in the randomizer, you reply with your first and last name. If you don't want to go in the randomizer and you just want to vote anonymously, you would reply anonymous. But you have to reply one way or the other. Does that make sense? So that way we know the vote is legitimate. And then at that point, the vote counts. If we don't get replies on the emails, then we don't count the votes. Because, like I said, we got to verify it. So make sure, just in case, NWFWrestling@gmail.com is our email address that you'll get a reply from. It shouldn't get spammed. It shouldn't go in your spam folder. It should come through, but maybe keep an eye on your spam folder over the next day when you vote, because I try I'm going to try to make sure our replies are all done within 24 hours. So if not earlier. So that's going to be kind of how that works. And if you go to the website for the voting, this is where you'd go. This is where you'll go. You just go to nwfwrestling.org, and there's links on the main page for all of this. But this is the direct link, nwfwrestling.org/HOF 2024. That gives the whole page for the Hall of Fame. It has the voting link, which right now doesn't work, but it will. And there's even a countdown to when you can vote. And once the voting starts, that countdown will turn into an actual countdown for when the voting ends, because we're going to basically go the whole month of March for voting. So it's not like you got to get in on one day. You'll have a whole entire month of March to vote. So I hope that works out good for everybody. And, I've said this before, and I got to say it again. I use the word Hall of Fame very, very loosely because I don't think we're famous. I don't consider ourselves famous. We were unique, but I'm not trying to pretend we're famous. I don't want people to get the wrong impression. The only reason we're doing these Hall of Fames is just to recognize who in our league stood out as being better than the others. Not so technically, yes, but in the ring, I guess that's part of it. But really, just as a whole, their character, how much did they bring to it? Were they committed? Were they there for a long time? All of it, right? Who stood out? And that's what it's for. So, hell, there's softball Hall of Fames. There's all sorts of Hall of Fames, right? VHW Hall of Fames. So we figured, why not? We'll have ours too. But this is going to be the last one, you guys. 40th anniversary. I said I was going to wait for the 40th anniversary to do this one. And people say, how come you're not doing it anymore? Well, look, the NWF was around for 4 years, basically, 84 through 88, 87 mainly. We will only have 4 Hall of Fames because otherwise everybody will be in. And you got to draw the line somewhere. For me, it's hard because I like all these guys. We picked 22 individual wrestlers to be on our ballot of probably 60 that we could have put in. And the others that didn't make it are just because a lot of them were just one and dones. They only showed up for a show or two. And we wanted to give you guys the ones that were there for more of a commitment or had more of an impact on the league. So that's the ones we tried to keep in there. But I'm really looking forward to that Hall of Fame. It's fun. And it's really for the guys. It's for them. To give them, one last crack to be recognized. Although I recognize every one of them, and you guys know this, a big part of our audience is the guys, and they know how I feel about every one of them. Just like I felt back in the day. I've said this from the get-go. If it wasn't for all of you being on my show wouldn't have been my show. I mean, it took them guys and all the hard work they did for me to make the show work. And so I will say that forever. So, it takes somebody with drive and determination. And another thing too, I know I'm rambling here, you guys, but I would love to see, we brought it up. Carmine said it'd probably never happen again. And he's probably right, but I would love to see kids today make it happen again. Start up another NWF. And don't just do 1 or 2, make a commitment of it, make a go of it, do it for a year. I would love to see that. That would be, to me, that would mean that everything I've preached for the last few years is worth it. I would love to see that happen again. The problem is I get, over the years, I get so many emails from kids asking me to start it up again. Can you start up the NWF again? I want to be a part of it. That's the biggest message I get from kids today. And that's, I think, what kind of Carmine was getting at is, another part of that is a lot of kids today don't want to take the initiative. They don't want to, it's just the way society is. They expect it to be done for them. And look, I learned early on, if you want something done, if you don't do it yourself, it isn't happening. You have to do it yourself. You have to take the bull by the horns and be determined and not take no for an answer. If I took the first no I got every time, we wouldn't have went anywhere. If somebody says no, find another way. Go around it. Go find somebody else. Find another way to get it done. Because there's more than one river that flows. I'll just say that. I've been rambling, you guys, and I know it's time to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. And don't forget, we will be back next week. We weren't going to be back next week, but we are now because we have Brian Zane joining us February 22nd. Same time, same place. And that will be a very interesting guest. And I'm looking forward to talking to Brian after our 10, 11 years now. And it's going to be a great show. So hoping to see how you guys all show up for that one. And let's try to I'm going to make an effort on next week's show to mingle in the comments as they come in with our guests so that you can, we can all interact together, more at the same time. I'll make sure to make an effort to do that. But guys, my voice is kind of shot. It's kind of getting to the end. This has been a long one for us. So we're going to wrap it up. We had a late start, which is part of why we're going so long here. But I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next week, folks. I'm going to end it tonight on the credits with a special message from Mr. Brian Zane. You'll see that, then our credits, and then we'll see you next week. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the one and only Brian Zane.
Hey there, NWF fans. It's Brian Zane, host of Wrestling with Regret on YouTube. I've been doing this channel for about 10 years now, and one of the very first videos I ever did was about a little documentary about the NWF Kids Pro Wrestling. And I looked at that and thought, what is this? How did this get made? Who's responsible? And what is the deal with Old Man Tronson? Well, I may not have got all the answers to those questions, but 10 years later, I am so excited to be part of NWF Rewind. It's happening on Thursday, February 22nd, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, on YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to look at some classic NWF footage, and I'm going to be asked some hard questions about what I said 10 years ago, and maybe see how my perspective has changed. It's going to be great. We hope to have you on the live feed. It's happening NWF Rewind. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you there.